Store owner Daniel Alvarez is suing his customer, Carmen Burgos, for cashing a counterfeit check at his store. Carmen says she was the victim of an internet scam.
Mr. Alvarez, what kind of store do you have, sir?
I have a general store. We sell music, we cash checks, we sell satellite. It's a little bit of everything.
The defendant was a customer of yours?
A regular customer. She had been there at least 4 or 5 occasions cashing checks.
And you charge a fee for that?
Yes, we do.
According to your complaint, sir, she came in with a check, which you cashed for her.
Correct.
And it turned out to be a bad check.
Yes.
And your bank withdrew the money from your account. You want her to compensate you for the check.
That is correct.
Ms. Burgos says it was a bad check. She was conned with this check, and she's sorry that you're out the money, but it's not her fault. It's the fault of the people who scammed her. That's her defense. Is that correct?
Yes,
Ms.
Your
Burgos?
Honor. I shouldn't
so
be
I
held
want you to
liable
tell
for it.
What?
I shouldn't be held liable for it because I had
Ms.
the
Burgos.
evidence. Yes.
Let's start from the beginning. Where did you get this check from?
It was mailed to me.
From an employer?
No, I'm always on the computer, and I'm always filling out sweepstakes and filling out numbers for lotto and that. So when I received the check...
So you received the check because you thought you won a prize?
Yes, correct.
Right,
But she didn't tell me that, Your Honor. I'm sorry.
Don't interrupt her.
I'm sorry.
Your Honor, he wasn't there at the moment.
Listen to me.
Yes.
You got a check in the mail and you didn't know where it came from.
Correct. Yes, I thought
So
it was
you thought
a
maybe
sweepstakes.
that you had played around with on the computer?
Yes, correct.
You have a copy of the letter?
Yes, I do.
I'd like to take a look at it.
Well, I have a copy because I gave Mr. Alvarez the original and the envelope that it came in.
Shh. Mr. Alvarez, I don't want you to interrupt her.
That's the original.
That is the original.
Cool.
And I also gave him the envelope it came in.
Shh. Now, this letter says that you won the North American Ballot Sweepstakes.
Correct.
And it tells you to call Debbie Baum in Canada.
Yes, Your Honor, and that's who I called.
Just for my own information, when you called her, what is it that you claim she said to you?
Well, I called her because at first I like...
Don't tell me. Just answer my question.
I asked her about that I had received a check for a sweepstake for the sum of $2,900. And she told me yes, and I told her, well, it says here for processing. She goes, oh, no, that's no problem. You could go ahead and change. That's part of what you have won. There's 72 people that are in with it.
I read the letter. There's 72 people that are going to share in $1.8 million.
Right, and that's just the beginning of it, so you could go ahead and cash it.
Cash
So
it.
that's right.
Fine.
I went to
Do you have a
Mr.
copy of the check?
Yes, I have
I'd
the
like
original.
to see it. Oh, you have the original?
Yes.
Love
the bank
to see
returned it to me.
Love to see it. So you took the check into him?
Yes,
To
correct.
cash?
Yes. Like I've taken other checks.
State Employees Credit Union of Maryland, Inc. Well, I have to tell you, this certainly looks like, to my untrained eye, an official kind of check.
Correct.
Exactly.
That's why
Right.
I went to him and I
Right.
cashed it.
Miss Burgos, I got it. You thought you woke up and it was your lucky day.
Yes, correct.
Bird, take a look at this. An interesting looking check? Right?
Oh, it even says official check.
It even says
Correct.
official
That's
check.
why I never-
And, just a minute, and they don't even ask you to do anything, like
Correct.
send them
That's
back
why-
half in this letter.
That's why I was like...
Don't, I'm speaking, don't bother me. They don't even ask you to send back half. You know, sometimes say, send us $500 as a processing fee, and they just say, here's your $2,900.
Does it in the back?
Yeah, she signed it, and it came back that it was suspected counterfeit. In any event, you gave her the money.
Yes, I did.
You have proof of that?
Just from the bank when they took the money out because...
I'd like to see it. Now, when you were notified by the bank,
Right.
yeah, they charged your account for $2,950.
Correct.
Okay. Now, when did you cash the check for her? On what date?
Around the 14th of November.
And the bank returned the check to you when?
They didn't return it until the 20th or 21st, but they notified me 2 days later. First,
So
they
on the
notified me.
16th.
Correct.
And when did you
I'm sorry, Your Honor,
notify?
it was after that.
Stop talking out! This is not a tea party! Now, when did you notify Miss Burgos?
That same day.
On the 16th,
Exactly.
2 days later.
Exactly.
How did you notify her?
I called her son-in-law because I know her son-in-law very well, and I called him up and I asked him to bring her over.
And when did he bring her over?
That same day.
On the 16th?
Exactly.
Okay, now tell me on the 16th what you said to her. And
I told her, Miss Burgos, this check has returned counterfeit from the bank.
And she said to you?
I didn't know. And she produced this letter.
Good.
Correct. I said I didn't know.
So why didn't you return the money to him?
At the moment, I didn't have the money. I had paid some of debts that I had.
Just a second. What difference does that make to him? Put your hand down. First of all, it's 2 days later.
It's not 2 days later, Your Honor. It was more than 2 days later.
How many days?
It was about 4 or 5 days later.
4 days. Show me what debts you paid.
Well, I had some medical bills that I had to pay, so I went.
Just a second. So you paid your medical bills. Medical bills.
Like,
what else? What else did you pay?
My electric bill, my phone bill, all my bills, and I.
Now let me ask you this question, Ms. Burgos. Before you came into this cash windfall, how did you pay your electric bill?
Well, I would pay it monthly.
From what?
From what I receive, and also.
What do you mean from what you receive? I don't understand that statement. Do you work?
Well, I get a Social Security check every month.
For what?
For disability.
What's the nature of your disability?
For asthma, arthritis.
You have asthma and arthritis and you can't work?
No.
I know a lot of people who have asthma and arthritis who can work just fine.
I was diagnosed with disability. So
Wait, just a second. When were you diagnosed with a disability from asthma and arthritis?
2 years ago.
Ms. Burgos, I'm believing less and less of what you tell me, madam, but I will tell you this. If you paid your bills, which you are responsible for paying, your medical bills, your electric bill, your phone bill, and I don't care what other kind of bills you paid, allegedly, and I know you're lying. Listen to me, and I know you're lying anyway.
No, I bought a few Christmas
Listen to me very carefully, and I know you're lying anyway. Then you have to pay him back the money.
Correct.
You paid your bills. You paid your bills. You're a scammer.
She told me.
Let me ask you this question. Who do you live with?
I live with my son and my daughter.
How old are they?
My daughter's 22 and my son is 19.
And what does your daughter do for a living?
She works. And my son
And your
also.
son?
He works.
Works.
They're the ones that help me with all the bills.
Because you don't work?
Yes.
Because of your asthma?
Yes.
She didn't tell me that. That day when she came in, she told me that she had only spent about $500 to $700
I told you that's
of
what
the
I
money.
Miss Burgos,
$500
Miss
to
Burgos.
I
$700.
asked her specifically.
That's what I told him I had.
Did you give it to him?
No. He told me.
Shh. So why did you spend that money instead of giving it back to him?
Well, I didn't have it on me at that time.
Why didn't you go home and get it?
The gentleman told me, Mr. Alvarez told me that he was going to send that letter, the letter from that they had received to the bank. Yes, it is, Mr. Alvarez.
Just
that
a second.
He was going
so
to
what?
take that
If
letter
there's a
to
question,
the
listen
bank.
to me. If there's a question, why didn't you say, listen, if there's a question and if this check was bad, I don't want Mr. Alvarez to be out the rest of this money. I'm going to hold what I haven't spent and give it to him if he's out of pocket.
Well, I had held it. I had it.
So why didn't you give it to him?
Because when I spoke to Mr. Alvarez on the phone, I told him I have the $500. He says, no, I want all the money. That's what he said.
That is
and
true?
I says, well, I don't have all the money at the moment, okay? I could give you at least $500 at a time. He said, no, I want all the money at the same time.
You want to know something? You're a scammer.
You've
been scamming
no.
Social Security in all probability for the last 2 years. I don't know how you got Social Security disability. How old are you?
I'm 47.
47. I know people who are 67 with asthma, they work.
Oh, I am disabled.
You must have had a really, really fine lawyer. You owe him $2,950, Ms. Burgos. You're a scammer, and you knew you did the wrong thing as soon as he told you that check came back.
Yes.
People very rarely get windfalls of money from the internet. Very rarely. Don't look like this to me.
I'm not a scammer because
I don't know how I got Social Security disability.
No.
I don't know where I got this check from. I don't know. Well, now you know that this man who was doing you a favor cashed your check and got penalized because of your stupidity. He got penalized. But you said, listen, I got the money. Let him go after the people. Let him go after. I'm speaking.
No, I didn't.
Let him go after the people.
I did not think that way.
Well, then you should have returned the money that you hadn't spent.
Okay, he didn't want the money that I had not spent.
So you spent the rest. Just a second. Hey,
I still have the $500.
To set an example, Miss Burgos, for your children. You're not supposed to be a scammer.
I'm not a scammer.
Yes, you are. Yes, you are. And you believed in getting something for nothing.
No,
and you put him in a very precarious position. You've got a lot of nerve.
I've never.
You've got a lot of nerve. Your children should not. Your children are not going to be proud of you after today. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $29.50. That's all. Step out.
Linda Perez is accusing her ex-boyfriend, Joseph Delgado Jr., of damaging her car and breaking her finger.
Ms. Perez, how long were you and Mr. Delgado together?
A little over 5 years.
You have no children together?
No children.
Records indicate that this is not the first lawsuit that you filed against Mr.
It is not.
Delgado. When did you separate from him?
We separated in November of '03. I filed a lawsuit against him when I could find him. He was on the run.
Is that around the time that you allege he both damaged your car, which is the subject of this lawsuit, and assaulted you, broke your finger?
It is.
After that happened, he left. You did not live together anymore.
That's correct.
Now, this is one lawsuit. How many lawsuits have you filed, not about this charge, against Mr. Delgado in total? Because our records indicate you have had other cases against
4.
him. For what?
One's not resolved.
Well, what is it about?
A motorhome. I owned 3 houses, 4 cars, and a motorhome. And he took off with the motorhome. I gave him a car. And the other one has to do with tax issues. He hadn't filed taxes in 5 years. And the other one is the broken finger and the laptop.
Just a second. If he hadn't filed taxes in how many years, what does that have to do with you?
He contacted me to try and help him get it done, for my accountant to do it for him.
When had he contacted you?
May of '04.
Did you lend him money, allegedly?
I did.
Has that case been resolved?
That case has been resolved.
In
He
whose
paid-
favor?
I dropped the lawsuit because he was crying and pleading to drop the lawsuit that he would make a
Ms.
payment.
Perez, in May of 2004, did you lend him money or allow him to use your account?
I did not loan him money, but he was using my accountant that I'm in good standing with to do his taxes and didn't have a checkbook to pay him with. So I was taking on the debt because it was my accountant.
Were you speaking to her in May of 2004?
Yes, ma'am. We met with the accountant together on May 15th and signed my taxes. She had all my tax records.
You met together.
Yes, ma'am.
And when you met together, did you have lunch before you went to the accountant?
We met at a restaurant with the accountant.
So
On the
you
way-
had, I'm speaking. So you had lunch together.
Yes, ma'am.
When did you contact Ms. Perez prior to May of 2004?
I had talked to her several times prior to that.
Where were you when you contacted her?
At the same home I'm at right now. I haven't moved or changed phone numbers.
Did you see Ms. Perez at any time between November of 2003 and May of 2004?
No, ma'am.
Did not see her.
No, ma'am.
That is not
Just-
true.
That's not true.
No.
When did you see him?
I gave him 30 days to remove his items from the house I was moving from San Diego to Los Angeles. He never took everything at one time and kept calling once a day to come pick something else up from the house.
So
That
you
went
saw
on
him.
through January 28th of '04. And I moved on February 26th of '04.
Your Honor,
Yes.
I can show here where I have papers where I sold my house in Oceanside and it closed escrow on January 12th. I have here canceled checks and loan documents were on January 22nd. I was in Kansas City, already purchased another home. I haven't been back here.
It's so fascinating to me because I'm gathering all kinds of information and you are taking positions, each of you, that is inconsistent with the position that you really want to take with regard to this lawsuit, just to fight with each other.
No, ma'am, I'm not. I didn't turn. That's my position.
Well, we're going to get there.
Sorry.
But what you're doing is you're not helping yourself because you're not thinking it through. Let me get there for you, Mr.
Thank you.
Delgado. According to your complaint, Ms. Perez, sometime in November of 2003, at about the time that you separated, Mr. Delgado damaged your car. And after he damaged your car, about a week later, you got into an altercation and he assaulted you. You're going to tell me about those two things.
Okay.
Because that's what this lawsuit is about. So let's get there, and let's get there, Ms. Perez, quickly.
The assault actually happened on October 3rd of '03. The last time I ever saw him again was November 18th of '03.
Well, between October 3rd of '03 and November 18th, did you live together?
No,
Did you stay together?
no.
Tell me what happened on October 3rd, 2003.
Okay. He used to work at a hotel chain and called me one day to bring 8 kids home. Their apartments were not ready yet. They were to be employed at the hotel he was working. I allowed him to bring these 8 kids home, and it turned into a fiasco for the next 2 weeks until the apartments were ready. I have evidence of what my house was like, what his behavior was
I'm not
like.
interested. Could we get to the October 3rd, 2003?
Come to find out, he was fooling around with one of the kids staying at my house and would come home daily in a combative mood, and subsequently threw a cell phone at my car out of anger and took my car drunk, pulled into the garage and ran over a hand dolly. I have pictures before he did that, after he did that.
Was that on October 3rd?
The last event was on October 3rd. That was prior to
Talking
October.
about the car.
The car was prior to October 3rd.
Date.
September 27th.
Between September 27th and October 3rd, did you live together?
He was keeping hours at the hotel. He would stay at the hotel.
Ms. Perez, between September
Not
27th...
as boyfriend and girlfriend, no.
Now, get to October 3rd, 2003.
My cleaning lady was at the house, and we were in the garage. And not to disrupt her cleaning, this is my cleaning lady, we went in the garage. We started having a heated argument over things that were happening with all the kids at the hotel, and it turned into a pushing, shoving, spitting match. He proceeded to spit in my face.
What did you do to him?
Pushed him off of me, and that's how my finger got broken.
Just a second. You said to me it turned into a pushing, fighting, spitting match.
Well,
match is your term. Now you've told me what you say he did to you. You tell me what you did to him.
Happened to be in the same room.
Well, you just told me that you just... Shh. Ms. Perez, you just told me that you broke your finger pushing him
off of me.
Well, how was he on you?
I was on the couch. He was towering over me.
You were on the couch in a garage.
Right. We had a computer, a television, it was a hockey table. It was like a game room.
So you're on the couch in the garage.
I don't allow smoking inside my house. And that's
You're on the couch in the garage, and he's on top of you.
Right.
And you pushed him off you.
That's correct.
And you broke your finger.
That's correct.
What else?
My cleaning lady at the time was inside cleaning the house. I went inside, got my keys, purse, and had to go pick up my 8-year-old from school. I went and picked up my 8-year-old from school, took him with me to the emergency room. And because he was with me, I really didn't want him knowing what was going on. So I went to the doctor and told him it had occurred from fooling around. Now, the break was a circular break, and it broke every...
You have the emergency room records?
I absolutely do, and
good
pictures.
Well, can I ask you this question?
I have a diagram.
Shh. I don't want a diagram. I don't want pictures. I asked you for the emergency room records. And if you were going to the emergency room, that you were just going to pick up your son so that he wouldn't be left out at school without someone caring for him.
That's correct.
Why didn't you take your housekeeper with you, who is here today, so that she could sit outside with your son if you were going to the emergency room?
She was leaving. She had another job to go to, and she was...
Did you ask her to stay?
No, I did not. I was leaving.
It was an emergency. You were going to the emergency room.
That's correct.
Told the doctor you were fooling around, snapping kitchen towels.
That's correct, because my 8-year-old was with me, and I did not want to subject him to all the things going on. He had been around Joe since he was 2, and I really didn't want to crush or make him scared about any of the occurrences going on.
So what are you suing him now for? You don't think your son's going to know about this?
No, I've kept it from him.
Well,
he's in school.
10 million people watch this program, madam.
He's in school with after-school activities.
You got a lot of excuses.
He goes...
Mr. Delgado, you want to tell me what, if anything, you remember about October 3rd?
You know, all I know is that we have a dog named Daisy that was a shepherd mix. We always used to take a towel, and she would get one in, and you'd grab her and she'd like this and play with her. I came home. She said she was wrestling with the dog. Daisy pulled on the towel, and she broke her finger.
Your Honor?
She drove...
I don't want to hear you. You see how quiet he was?
She drove herself to the doctor and came home with the medical report, said her finger was broken, and they were going to wait and see for a few weeks whether she needed to have any surgery or anything else done on it. At the time, we had the same medical insurance. We were in the same house, everything. That was the last I ever heard it until 2 years later. I get my 4th lawsuit from her about that.
Your Honor, I have a diagram drawn by the doctor, the surgeon, of what needs to be done to repair my finger. My cleaning lady was there at the house and can tell you what she heard from inside the house, and we were in the garage. Come on.
Tell me your name, please.
Yolanda Marcial.
How long have you worked for Miss Perez?
More than 8 years.
8 years. Why didn't you go with her to the emergency room, Miss Marcial?
Because I was working in the house. I was busy in the house, and I just getting ready to leave.
What time of the day were you getting finished with your job?
Around like 2 something.
In the afternoon?
2 something.
And where were you going?
to Oceanside.
What's in Oceanside?
I was working for another lady in Oceanside.
What time are you due there?
Around like, I got traffic around like 4 over there to Oceanside.
How long did you remain in the house after Miss Perez left to go and pick up her son?
When she left to get, okay, around like maybe like 45 minutes.
Did Miss Perez ask you to accompany her to the emergency room?
No.
Did you offer to accompany her to the emergency room?
No.
When she came inside, did she show you her hand?
She walked with the hand like that, and I know that something happened because I heard screaming in the garage and fighting in the garage.
When you heard screaming and fighting in the garage, did you go into the garage?
No. I'm only that cleaning person, and I've nothing.
You heard screaming and
Yes,
fighting
and
in the garage, and you didn't go in there? Did you
No.
call the police?
No.
You just went on vacuuming. Sit down, Miss Barcial. Put your hand down.
I have pictures.
Not interested in the pictures. More interested in the statement that you made to the doctor when you went in there.
I had my 8-year-old with me.
I don't believe that that's the reason you make up that kind of a lie.
I had to.
No, you don't. You have to say, would you go sit over there? And doctor, I want to tell you privately what happened. That's what you do. I mean, otherwise, the doctor believes what you're saying, correct?
Correct.
Correct. Because you give the doctor information, because based upon that information, it helps them treat whatever's wrong with you.
I came up with that story to protect my child.
No, that's a
Yeah.
lot of baloney. That's baloney. I'm older than you are. I've been to the emergency room, both with myself and my children. Over the course of the years, little things happen. And you can always say, go over and sit there with that nice nurse for a second because the doctor wants to see me.
I tried to call 911, and he threw the phone and broke it.
Listen to me very carefully. You were out of the house. You went to pick up your child. You say to her, do me a favor, leave now and call the police. I'm leaving now. I'm going to the police. You did nothing. You did absolutely nothing except go to the emergency room on the 3rd for whatever reason and tell the doctor that you hurt yourself fooling around with a towel.
I was protecting my child.
You
so he-
keep saying that, and I keep saying to you, I don't believe you. Now, there's a lawsuit that she filed against you that she won a judgment for $1,000.
No, ma'am, she didn't win a judgment. She dropped the lawsuit. I paid the $1,000.
Tell me about that $1,000, sir.
After we'd split up, we hadn't talked for a while. I was behind on my taxes. Finally, I'd called Linda a couple times and talked to her, and we kind of were in an amicable position where I said, listen, I need to file my taxes. So she agreed that she would give me my tax paperwork and everything back.
Why did you leave without your tax paperwork?
I left just about everything I had there.
Why?
Because we're just not getting along, and that was enough.
When did you leave?
I don't remember the exact date, but I was out of there by the end of October.
So there came a time that you called her and said to her, what?
That I wasn't coming back.
Taxes.
Oh, taxes. Well, I had asked for this before I left California, and I was not.
Fine. So she said she'd give you your paperwork.
And finally, in about April of 2004, and then what she's telling the truth about the accountant, we used her accountant, I have the paperwork here, and I flew out here on May 15, 2004. We all three met. It was a respectable day. We didn't fight. Nothing happened. We didn't argue. She brought the paperwork, she said. The accountant did the paperwork, and she did write the check for the $1,000, and I paid that back. And then I got back to Kansas City, where I live, and then on August 24th, I get from Blockbuster Video a bill from Canoga Park, 10 movies all rented in one day under my name. So I called out there and I said, listen.
Can I see that, please?
I said, I don't live in California. I haven't been in California.
Your Honor, all of our kids have the same Blockbuster card.
Well, yes, they do. And this is where it got real interesting, where Blockbuster knew who exactly rented them. Because our kids before, both of our older boys, would go down and rent movies, and we had late fees, Linda and I went to Blockbuster, and we put a password on our account. So in order to rent movies, you had to know that password. When I called this Blockbuster and said, I don't owe this money, they said, yes, you're the primary person on the account, and the person that used that account used the password to get those movies. They rented all 10 of them one day and never brought one of them back.
That was in August of 2004.
And that's after all this. Sorry.
Okay. Tell me about the return of the $1,000, sir.
I took my credit card at Bank of America in Kansas City, and I went down and put that into her account.
So what was the lawsuit about?
I don't remember all there was a couple of things in there she was suing me for, but that was part of it. Immediately after I got back, she filed the lawsuit. I should have paid it quicker, but I had told her. But we were in contact the whole time. She knew. And then I went down and paid it. Then I flew out here. Then the lawsuit got canceled after I'd flown all the way out here. Then I go back home. Then this happened. it's like this car thing happened, this finger thing happened, but yet we're doing the taxes. We finally got the paperwork settled together. We meet at a restaurant to eat. You know what? You drop the lawsuit, I pay the money. She just said that. Then the Blockbuster thing happens out of no reason. 2 years later, I get 4 more lawsuits, and I'm going to fly back out here again. And at the time, the finger in the car insurance, we had even the same car insurance until December 12th. We never had any claims. We never had any problems. The health insurance that she went to the doctor with was my health insurance.
Your Honor, he got fired from...
I'm speaking. When did you file the lawsuit with regard to the taxes?
September of 04.
When did you drop that lawsuit?
The end of September of 04.
When did you file this lawsuit?
October 27th, I believe.
All right. Ms. Perez, I'm not going to totally annihilate you. I'm just going to do it very, very quickly because quite frankly, I have more important... I'm speaking! Your complaint says that the reason you didn't file this lawsuit sooner was because Joe went on the run and I was unable to locate him because he left the state. In September 2004, I was finally able to find him, and I immediately filed a small claims case against Joe for my car and assault damages. Once he was served, he contacted me, begged me to drop the case, and said he would start making payments. When I received his first payment of $1,000, I went and dismissed the case without prejudice. That is a lie. That's a lie. Because the case that you dismissed in September of 2004 had nothing to do with the car and the assault. I'm speaking. It had to do with the taxes, that he paid you the $1,000, so you dismissed that case. That's what you just told me.
It wasn't solely the taxes.
And you told me that you filed this case September 27th, 2005. Get over it. Put a period. He doesn't want to have anything to do with you anymore. It was 5 years out of your life. Move on. Goodbye.
Stacy Levine says ex-boyfriend Rory Rodriguez owes for a cell phone bill and the cost of a plane ticket. Rory claims Stacy knew he wouldn't be able to pay her back.
Miss Levine, this used to be your boyfriend, and according to your complaint, he owes you for a plane ticket and for a cell phone bill.
Yes.
Mr. Rodriguez says the cell phone was your idea in order to keep in touch with him, and he never used the plane ticket.
Yes.
How long did this romance go on? For how many months?
About 8 months.
And when did you get involved with his cell phone business?
In July of 06.
How long had you known him?
7 months.
So you got involved in his cell phone business a month before you broke up?
Correct.
Tell me how that came about.
He had been complaining he had wanted a new phone, and he was on his father's plan. His father would not allow him to get a new phone, and we had discussed getting him a new phone with a different carrier so that we could talk with free minutes. Also, we had a verbal agreement that if I bought him a new phone, he would pay me back as soon as he got his check that month in July.
Where were you working?
I was a nanny. I was working as a nanny.
And what was he doing?
Nothing.
Well, when was he supposed to pay you for the cell phone?
Well, he said he was getting another check in July from the school district.
What kind of work does he do for the school district?
He was a campus supervisor.
When was the bill that you claim he owes you? Was it a bill or was it the actual cell phone that
There's
he owes you?
two. I paid for the cell phone in July, and then there was also a bill that has accrued since we started the phone.
How much was the phone itself?
$229.30.
And how much was the bill?
The bill now is $724.38.
For how many months?
That was the last statement I got was in March of this last year.
Why didn't you just cut off the phone?
I did end up shutting off the phone. That was after he racked up all of the charges. He had promised to pay the bill every month. I had set up the bill to go to his address. His name was on it as well. My name was just used for credit purposes. So he got the statement every single month in the mail to his address, and he told me he was paying it.
You mean after you broke up?
Yes. Well, when I set up the phone in July, he
said he would pay it, but this $724 isn't for 1 month or 2 months. And according to you, you broke up in August.
We did break up in August, and I paid the first bill in September. And then
you did? Why?
Because he had called me. I was out of town. He called me and told me he needed the bill paid, and I didn't want it to go into collections at that time, so I did pay it over the phone.
And what about the next month's bill?
He told me he paid it. I was on the phone with Verizon. He said I sent a check.
Let's talk about the cell phone. Get the plane ticket in a second. Talk.
She knew that I was out of work. Working for the school district, it's a 10-and-a-half-month job.
Well, then that's what you do for a living. You work for a school district that's a 10-and-a-half-month job.
Right. And she was well aware.
Don't tell me what she was aware of, sir. I want to hear your explanation of needing a new telephone.
I did not need a new telephone. I was perfectly fine with the one that I had underneath my father's plan. The only reason that she wanted me to have the cell phone was so that we could talk for free. And we could text message for free.
Okay, so as one of your famous, fabulous 5 friends? Or
Something along those lines, yeah.
I don't do that. I don't have 5 people that I want to speak to that often. Let's discount the phone for a second, Mr. Rodriguez. What about your cell phone bill? Why didn't you pay that?
She
what?
I had no money. I was out of work. I wasn't out of work, but I wasn't working.
Well, get a job, sir.
I had a job.
Then don't talk on a cell phone.
We broke up in August, and after August, the phone was never used.
Oh, show me. Can I see a bill if that's true? If just after August, is that what you're telling me?
The phone, once we broke up, the phone was...
That's the bill.
No, all I want to know is, you're saying to me, once you broke up in August, the phone was never used.
Correct.
He did not rack up $500 in a month.
Oh, no. I need the bills from September, October, November. This doesn't tell me anything, madam.
It says what the charges are.
For what month?
For all of them. The phone wasn't shut off until December.
I understand that the phone wasn't shut off until December, but there's a factual dispute. If he says that he did not use the phone after you broke up, then some credence to his story that you decided to get this phone so that the two of you could either chat or text message each other for nothing. One phone bill doesn't do it for me. Do you understand?
I understand that, yes.
Do you have the others with you?
I do not have any other phone bills with me.
Here, give this back to her for now.
That was the only way I was able to get a hold of him, was his cell phone. So I did talk to him on the cell phone.
That's not my statement to you, madam. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
Fine. So, since you didn't bring that with you, I'm going to dismiss the cell phone portion of your claim without prejudice. You can certainly sue him for that amount of money when you have the appropriate documents to back up your story. You don't have them today. Now let's get to the plane ticket. When was the plane ticket purchased?
July of '06.
July what?
I believe it was the 14th.
And when did you officially break up with him?
The last week of August.
When was this trip supposed to take place?
We were supposed to leave September 1st, and we broke up the very week before.
9/1. And where were you going?
We were going to Pennsylvania and Cleveland.
For what?
Pennsylvania to visit family, Cleveland to the Cleveland Clinic, and then to the Canton to the Football Hall of Fame.
When did you purchase the ticket?
July 14th of '06.
Is that correct?
I'm not sure what the date was.
Well, I'm sure she has documents showing when she purchased the ticket and when you were supposed to leave.
I've never had, in my possession, I've never had the ticket, so I don't know when she bought it.
It doesn't make any difference. Because what I found interesting was you said that the reason you were going to Pennsylvania is to attend her grandfather's funeral. That's what you say. And I said to myself, well, how do you plan for something like that 2-3 weeks in advance? You know,
no.
I don't know whether her grandfather is alive or not, but you don't...
Her grandfather did pass away.
Yes.
On the trip that we were supposed to go to, her grandfather did pass away.
But he did not pass away.
Shh. I have no idea what you just said to me.
Her grandfather passed away on the trip that we were supposed to go to.
But you hadn't planned on going there for his funeral unless he had some sort of premonition that he was going, sir.
We did, though, ma'am. It was something that was known for a while that
he was going to die while you were there.
Not while we were there, but
you know you sound ridiculous. You know you sound ridiculous. You mean she wanted to go visit her grandfather because he was sick?
Right.
That's not what you said here. You said that you planned to go to Pennsylvania to attend her grandfather's funeral.
Right.
He's not too swift. Okay, tell me about the plane ticket.
We were going to go visit family in Pennsylvania and then move on to Cleveland. He was going to accompany me and my mother. My mother actually purchased the tickets and spoke with Rory on the phone. And
perfect. Can you step up? Your last name is?
Randall.
Miss Randall, tell me about the conversation you had with Mr. Rodriguez about this plane ticket.
On the day that we were purchasing the tickets, I spoke with him on the phone, and he told me he would reimburse Stacy for the airfare. And at the same time, we opened up the airline's frequent flyer mileage account for him, set that up, and it was my clear understanding from him during that conversation.
I don't want to hear your clear understanding.
Sorry.
I want to hear what he said to you.
He said he would reimburse Stacy for the cost of the airline ticket.
And then what happened? Thank you.
We broke up.
Yes.
And there was no reason for me to go on a trip with him if we weren't together.
Absolutely right, sir.
And at the same time as
was the ticket refundable?
It was non-refundable. I tried transferring it into my name so that I could use it. I was not able to do that. I told him that as soon as I knew that. I said, here's the ticket. You know, you can use it for up to a year later. Did not give it to him because he had not paid for it. And he still has until July 14th of this year to use it.
Did you have that discussion with him?
Yes, I did.
Do you remember that discussion when she said it's non-transferable, but you can use it for up to a year?
Yes.
Well, then you have to pay for it.
When we had talked originally about buying this ticket, I told her, just as the cell phone, I did not have money because
I believe her mother that her mother had the discussion with you, sir.
And
I believe her mother. I do not believe you that you didn't have that discussion with her mother.
I'm not saying that I didn't have the discussion with her mother, but what I'm saying is that I was out of work.
I don't care whether you were out of work.
And I let them know that I couldn't pay them immediately.
That's a different story. The word is immediately. So you,
and
you don't intend to be unemployed forever.
When we had broken up, so there was no reason for me to even go on a trip with them.
Of course not, sir, but the ticket is non-refundable. I want you to try to expand your brain a little bit, Mr. Rodriguez. The fact that you broke up and you had non-refundable ticket, let's say instead of going to Pennsylvania, you were going with her to Cancun, Mexico, and you purchased 2 non-refundable tickets. She put it on her credit card. You broke up. There's no question. You said, listen, we're not going on this trip. She's not going to go alone. I'm not going to go alone. But the airline says to you, and they say to you, listen, if you can't back, but you can reschedule within the next 6 months. She put it on her credit card. Do you think you're responsible to pay her for those tickets?
No.
You're wrong. You are. You have an opportunity to use the tickets, but you can't say, I'm not going to touch those tickets. You promised the mother that you were going to pay her back for the tickets. You had an opportunity to use them for a year. You should have used them. And I suggest you get your behind into gear because you still have a couple of days to use them. Figure out where you want to go. If you want to go to the Hall of Fame, that's a great place to go for a weekend. How much were the tickets?
$331.
Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $331. With regard to the cell phone bill, you bring the right proof. Either I'll entertain your application or another court of competent jurisdiction will do that. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Goodbye. Have a happy life.
Eve Dettenheim is suing her sister, Carol Dettenheim, for damaging her car when she ran into a deer. Carol says she offered her sister a portion of the deer meat as payment.
Ms. Dettenheim, this is your sister.
Yes, ma'am.
According to your complaint, she took your car. Your neighbors?
Yes.
She took your car, you say without permission, had an accident, you want her to pay for the damage to your car.
Yes.
Your sister says she really had your permission because she used to borrow the car all the time. You left the back door open, she grabbed the keys, she needed some diapers or something, she wanted to go to the store. There was an accident, it was unavoidable, she hit a deer, damaged the car, and her defense is you should have had better insurance. Is that your defense?
I thought she had full coverage.
What made you think that?
I just didn't think.
You didn't think? Who do you rely on to do your thinking?
I just used it all the time, and she wasn't home, so I went over there to get the key and went, and the deer just jumped out in front of me.
Was the deer hurt?
Oh, it died.
Did you wait for somebody to come and take the carcass away?
No, I put pine straw over it and took the antler and went and got it later.
Went and got what later?
The deer.
What'd you do with it?
Ate it.
Is that true?
Yes, ma'am, and she even offered me some, but I'm not having rigor mortis stew. I know.
It did not have rigor mortis. I went back.
That is just sick.
Can I see pictures of your car, please?
Yes, ma'am.
Where do you live, Miss Dettenheim?
Louisiana.
Where in Louisiana?
Haynesville.
How long have you and your sister been neighbors?
For 1 year.
Who moved close to whom?
She moved close to me.
You have an estimate to fix this car?
Yes, ma'am.
I'd like to see it, please. Are you angry with your sister?
A little bit. I feel like she needs to own up to the responsibility that she did damage my car and make what is wrong right.
So, what do you think?
Well, that night when I told her about the wreck, I thought it was just a headlight. And, you know, we talked about it and looked at everything. But then the next morning, she come over there just hollering at me, banging on my door, telling me how I owed her and all this. And I've helped her with a lot of stuff in the past and has made my life. I had to move because, I mean, I still have the house, but I can't stay with her. She'll do stuff like rev up her engine in the morning, trying to wake up my son and stuff, trying to make my life hard, and it's become an issue. It's like the Hatfield McCoys or something. So,
do you work?
No, ma'am.
How do you support yourself?
My boyfriend.
Does he live with you?
Well, I'm staying with him now, just because she's hard to be next to.
Well, when's the last time you were employed?
I'm a student right now. It's been almost a year. I've been a stay-at-home mom.
A student of what?
I'm going to be a bail bondsman.
And how often do you go to school for that?
Right now, it's just a little course right now.
So why don't you work?
Because...
Well, you have to because you owe your sister $1,300.
Yeah, I wasn't expecting to have to owe $1,300.
Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,300. Thank you very much.
Your Honor.
Go back to Louisiana and be happy.
Maggie O'Miller claims Teresa Chaidez is in possession of a ring belonging to her. Teresa is countersuing, claiming Maggie embarrassed her at her place of business.
Miss O'Miller, it is your claim that the defendants are in possession of a ring that is yours.
That's right, Your Honor.
And it is a ring that left your possession at some point. You don't know how, you don't know when, but you saw Miss Chaidez?
Chaidez, yeah.
Chaidez wearing the ring in a store. She was employed in the store. You looked at the ring, and since you say it was a unique ring made for you, you were sure that it was yours. You told her it was yours. You went and got the police. They came back. She said her boyfriend or fiancé had given her the ring several years before. This is the fiancé, Mr. Tapia, who says that he purchased the ring, that he paid $1,000 for it, and you want your ring back or money.
I want the ring.
When did you have the ring made?
In 1991.
By whom?
By Creations in Gold up in Seattle, Washington, and this is the jeweler and her husband that made my ring.
Well, who made the ring? This lady or her husband?
Her husband, and he's since deceased.
All right. Did you work with him?
Yes, we had a store together.
Were you the designer or was he the designer?
I was the designer mostly. He did the fabrication.
Stand up. Did you personally do it or did your husband do it?
We both did.
And you remember this particular ring 15 years later?
Yes, I do.
Where did you get the model from for the ring?
It was our design. My husband made
Can I see the ring, please?
Ring for me first.
What do you mean he made it for you first?
A ring like it.
Just a second. He made a ring for you like this first?
Yes.
And then he made another one for Miss O'Miller?
Yes.
Was she a friend of yours?
We met in a restaurant and she approached me and said, "May I look at your ring?" And I said, "Yes." And then she asked, I said, "My husband and I have the store." And then she came to the store.
Where's the one that your husband made for you?
Right here.
Let me see it.
Yes.
Do you want another one that he made? These were made together at the same time.
I just want to see the one that he made for her.
Okay.
Well, these are practically identical.
Yes.
Except the gold is different. Yours is heavier. One that she says is hers is lighter. Practically identical. And your husband, did he surprise you with this? Is my question. Did your husband surprise you with this ring?
Yes, he did.
So that you were not telling me the truth. What's your last name?
Grenzner.
You are not telling me the truth when you say that you designed it with him. Because these rings are practically identical. And if what you're telling me is that your husband surprised you.
Surprised me?
Listen to me. Surprised you with your ring. That means that you didn't design it. That means he designed it.
We designed it, but he surprised me, and I got the ring for Christmas. Yes, he surprised me with the ring, but not with the design. That is the truth.
Madam, that's a lot of double talk.
No.
If your husband surprised you with the ring, that means that he designed it and gave it to you as a surprise. A husband doesn't say, "I want to surprise you with a ring. Let's sit down and you design it, and then it's going to be a surprise." Husband says, "I'm going to surprise my wife for Christmas and give her a ring," which he designed. And then when she came in and wanted a ring similar to yours, two of you may have gotten together and say, well, we can make a ring very similar to mine. It's not exactly the same because this is more weight, this is less weight than yours. You understand that. But you did not design it. Sit down.
Can I show you one that he designed to go with that ring?
No, it's not necessary.
Okay.
Not necessary. There's nothing unique about this ring. You've been around jewelry as long as I've been around jewelry. This is, you know, may not be exactly the same, but it's not unique. Now, when was the last time, Miss O'Miller, when was it that you actually saw your ring, that either is this ring or is similar to this ring?
Approximately about 3 years ago.
Where did you see it 3 years ago?
In my home.
When did you first miss your ring?
Probably about a week after I'd moved.
Which was when?
3 years ago.
Do you have a police report?
I never made a police report because I didn't know at the time it was lost or stolen. I just thought I'd misplaced it, so I didn't call.
Well, maybe you lost it. Is that possible?
Possible.
Did you have a moving company move you?
It was a small moving company that had moved.
So the answer is that you had a moving company move you.
Right.
So 3 years ago you did not make a report of any stolen property.
Correct.
So you did nothing.
Nope.
Now, where did you buy this ring, Mr. Tapia?
In Indio, California.
Where?
At a pawn shop.
Had you ever been to that pawn shop before?
No, it was my first time there.
Do you remember who you dealt with there?
No, I just remember taking my grandmother with me, and it was $1,000, so I asked her to loan me $500 of it.
You gave him $500?
Yes, I loaned him $500.
Did he ever pay you back?
Yes, he paid me $100 a month for 5 months.
Okay. So?
So I believe that's my ring. I could tell by the flat back. That was one of his trademarks. It's like the one I have now.
Miss O'Miller, this is a legal issue. If I believe Mr. Tapia that he purchased this ring at a store for $1,000, he becomes what we call in the law a purchaser in due course for value, which means this ring is probably worth no more than $1,000. It has very tiny stones. It doesn't have the, I don't know how much you paid for it.
$3,000.
Well, you overpaid. You can give this back to her. Let us say you lost the ring. Let us say somebody else found the ring and brought it to the pawn shop. In commerce, there's a rationale behind this rule. In commerce, unless you're dealing with a car or a boat or a house, which has to be in writing, if you purchase something and if you purchase it for value, you get the title to it. Now, if Mr. Tapia bought this ring on the street for $50, then he is not a purchaser in due course for value. Then he is on notice that this may be a stolen ring, because nobody sells a ring that's worth $1,000 for $50 unless it's stolen goods. But I believe him, and I believe his grandmother, that they paid $1,000 for this ring. That doesn't mean you get it back.
First of all, his name was not Topia when I was going through all this. His name was Estrada. Then I got a phone call from a man claiming to be a lawyer representing Mr. Estrada. The man that subpoenaed these people with their warrants talked to the lawyer that he's...
Just what kind of warrants? What are you talking about, warrants?
Well, you know, when you go and form... How do I say it?
You went to her place of business where she works as a salesperson. You saw the ring. You said, let me see the ring. She showed you the ring. You said, where did you get it? She said, my boyfriend gave it to me. It's an engagement ring. You said, I have a ring like that. I think it's mine. She said, no, it's mine. You left. You went to the police. You brought the police back to her place of employment because that's her counterclaim, that you embarrassed her. Okay, so now we're at a point where you brought the police back to her place of employment and you said, that's my ring, and it must have been stolen. Is that what you said?
No.
What did you say?
I went home, called the police, and said I saw my ring on her finger at Mathis Brothers.
Okay.
The police lady said, he'll meet you in 15 minutes over at Mathis Brothers.
So then you went to Mathis Brothers, and she was there, and she said, it's my ring.
Can I say something? The officer did say it was stolen, that she said it was stolen. But in front of me, she said it was lost.
So far, I haven't heard any libel, slander, or defamation. She didn't accuse you of stealing it.
Well, when she brought the cops...
You were embarrassed.
I was embarrassed.
You were embarrassed, but that, you know, that's unfortunate. But she's entitled to do that. She said, it's my property. I want it back. Okay, so...
Then I talked to him, and he said, well, for $1,000. He said, it's probably a ring, and for $1,000 you could have it back. And I said, why should I buy something back that's mine, that I feel is mine?
Is that what you said to her?
No, I said that I bought the ring for $1,000, and if she wanted it, she'd have to pay me $1,000, which what I paid.
Is that what he said to you? Well, that's different from what you just told me, Miss O'Miller.
What did I just say that's so different?
You can have it back for $1,000. That's different from saying I paid $1,000 for it, and if you say it's yours, I'm willing to give it back to you, but you have to pay me what I paid for it. That's different. One has a positive connotation, and one has a negative connotation.
I can see how you said it just then, yes. I can.
No, see how you said it.
Okay.
Go ahead. I'm listening.
I'd like to know why all of a sudden his name became Mr. Topeka.
I don't know. I have a very long name myself. Judith, Blum, Levy, Scheindlin. My name is very, very long. That has nothing to do with the fact that you lost your ring 3 years ago, and you can't have it back. This may be your ring. It may not be your ring. Why in the world would I ascribe to these people any kind of criminal behavior 3 years away? Now, if you told me that he was one of the people who moved your property from one place to another, I would say, aha, a light would go off in my head. Did you work for the moving company that moved her?
Never have in my life.
Do you understand?
Yes.
Well, you can't go around, accusing people of having property, stolen property, and believing that it's stolen. Return this, please. Miss Shades?
Shades, yes.
Yes, it's yours. Miss O'Miller, sad that you lost your ring. I would have felt much better about it if you had reported it to the police stolen. You did nothing. And who knows what happened to it in 3 years? It may have fallen in a truck, and 2 months later somebody found it in the truck and said, I don't even know where this came from. Said, I'm going to sell it, and I'm going to sell it to a pawn shop and see what they give me for it. He sees it, he goes with his grandmother, he says, I only have $500, can you lend me the other 500? I believe his grandmother when she said that he paid her back. You don't get your ring back, Miss O'Miller. She also doesn't have to pay you for embarrassing you in the store. She didn't accuse you of stealing it.
Well, when the officer came, he said that, it was stolen. And, I felt embarrassed when he comes into my job and,
You don't
she
get
made me lose time off of work. And she also had my address I don't know how she got my new address. I just moved into a new house. I feel like she's stalking me.
She's not stalking you anymore.
She has.
She's not stalking you anymore. She is entitled to sue you. Listen to me carefully. She's entitled to sue you. She had a good faith basis to believe that this was her property. And quite frankly, unless you could establish to my satisfaction, which you have, that you were a holder in due course for value, which means you paid value for this ring, I might have returned it to her if I believed it was hers to begin with. But I believe that you purchased it, and I believe you purchased it in good faith with your grandmother. I believe you paid value for it, and therefore the title is clear, is in your name. Do we all understand that? Good. Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Mary Freer says stepson Jonathan Freer owes for destroying her home and her car. Jonathan says his actions were a result of his drug addiction.
Miss Freer, the defendant is your stepson.
Yes.
How long were you married to his father?
20 years.
Did he live with you during any of that period of time?
Not until recently. He lived with his mother. We saw him until he was 5 years old, and then she basically stole him. And we didn't see him again until he was 18.
Well, your lawsuit says that there came a time when your stepson rented a house from you and your husband. It was a house that you and your husband owned. It was a rental property.
Yes.
And he was supposed to pay rent. He did for a while, then he sort of fell off with the rent. He also was using a car that belonged to who, you or your husband?
Myself.
And your husband unfortunately passed away this past summer. And when you went to the rental property, found that he had moved out and the place was totally trashed.
Yes, it was.
And the car was likewise totally trashed.
Yes, ma'am.
And you want him to pay for that.
He should.
And his defense seems to be that if he had a debt to take care of the house, not the rent, just the condition of the house and the car, the debt was with his father, not with you. And when his father passed away, the debt vanished. Is that your defense, sir?
Yes.
You don't really believe that, do you?
Yeah.
I have a couple of questions for you.
Okay.
I'm not going to say anything funny. I guarantee you that by the time you're finished here, you will not be laughing. How old are you?
26.
How do you support yourself?
I work.
Doing what?
I install glass in buildings.
When did you move into this rental property?
A couple of years ago.
Tell me when. Don't be smart and don't be smug. Are you a drug addict or an alcoholic?
I was.
When?
Back when I was living there.
Really? Both drugs and alcohol?
Yes.
See, I was being sort of facetious because I was going to say you had to be on drugs or alcohol or else you would know how many years ago you moved into this house. So you were an alcohol abuser and a drug abuser
Yes.
while you were living in the house.
Yes.
Are you still abusing drugs and alcohol?
No.
Did you go into rehab?
No.
You mean you just stopped?
Yeah.
You want to tell me how you did that and when?
Back in February of this year, I was stabbed and
By a stranger?
kind of. I really didn't know him. I was just partying with him.
So you were in the hospital for a while?
Yeah, well, just like one night. It wasn't really that bad. It was stabbed in the back. It just like punctured my lung, just a little.
And?
And after that, my dad had a stroke and stuff, so I just kind of figured I need to start changing my life.
Well, that's a very good thing that you figured you had what we call in the trade an epiphany, a life-altering experience, a wake-up call, right?
Yeah, you could say that.
Don't be smart with me. I don't think you're cute. Now, if you have what we call an epiphany, a mind and a life-altering experience, that usually says you want to start doing the right thing. Is that right?
Yeah.
Try yes.
Yes.
And when you were living in this rental property, you'd stop paying rent because you were putting up your nose or in your veins or whatever you were earning. So you stopped paying rent, correct?
Correct.
And you stopped paying for the care of this car, correct?
Correct.
Then you had this experience. Don't you think that you should go back to your old life and say, I have to make certain amends for things that I did, like trashing this house?
No.
Why not?
My dad never really had a problem with it. I mean, they knew I was partying there. They knew I was drinking. They knew I was partying. They knew I had friends coming over.
Can I see pictures of the house, please?
Yes, Your Honor.
Staying with friends.
What did I ask you that was funny?
Nothing.
Why would you trash a house like this, sir?
Just having a good time.
Are you the only child that your father had with your mother?
No.
How many other children did your father have with...
One.
Where is that child?
He kind of stays with my mom.
Does he stay with your mother because he takes care of her?
No.
She takes care of him?
Well, he stays in one of her apartments. I really don't talk to them that much.
Why not?
I really don't like my mom too much.
Did you like your father?
Yeah. Yes.
Did you respect your father?
Yes, I did.
No, you didn't.
Well...
And you don't respect him now. Did I wipe the smile off your face? You don't respect him now because if you respected him, you wouldn't have done this to his property. And if the excuse was that you were using drugs and alcohol and therefore you were not in control of yourself, that's not an excuse. That's a reason that you would allow you and your friends to do this to his property. But now you've sobered up. So I don't think that you respect your father or his memory, sir.
Yeah, but
because if you did, then you would say, this property belonged to, at least in part, my father, and I'm disrespecting his memory by leaving it like a pig pen. I'm disrespecting who he was and how nice he was to me by saying to me, listen, we'll give you a home. You don't like your mother. Maybe she's a problem, but I want you to feel as if you have a home with us. Here's a place for you to live, and you take it and trash it. But then you get clean and sober, and you don't fix it. And there's no excuse for that if you want to do the right thing and turn your life around, Mr. Frere. We understand each other?
Yes.
We're not laughing anymore, are we?
No.
I see the estimates of what it's going to take to clean up this place. I doubt whether the jurisdiction of my court would cover it. It doesn't. All right, now tell me quickly about the car.
He didn't have a vehicle, so I let him use my vehicle. And when I found out he left, we went to the house and the car was in the driveway.
How did you find out that he moved out?
He told my daughter. My daughter speaks with her brother still, and he told my daughter that he was going to move out. She's the one who informed me that he was gone. Did you need to hear that from her?
No, I'm just going to give you some advice. You too. When somebody is a drug abuser, and he acknowledges that he was a drug abuser, and unless they take care of it, it's not going to go away. And his life-altering experience didn't, from what I'm hearing, alter the way he thinks. So you look like two nice young people. Keep your distance. I know you're looking like this. I'm telling you, for your own protection, keep your distance. Bad news. Okay. Can I see pictures of the car, please?
He came to us with some serious problems, and it took us a while, and it appeared that he had straightened his life out. He really was doing great. He had a great job, made good money, and that was why he rented the apartment, why we let him move in, because we figured that it was his family. He was going to take care of it just like we would have. And he did. For over a year, he did. And then I don't know if it was his father getting sick or what happened to him, but it all just hit the wall, and he reverted right back to what he knew. And, you know, what I'm left with is to pick up the mess.
Ms. Frere, listen to me. When he came to you, he had some problems. Is that what you said?
That's exactly what I said.
And would those problems include substance abuse?
I'm sure it was. I couldn't prove it, but I would say.
And then he got a job, and he appeared to be okay.
He did very well.
And then he went back to drugs and alcohol.
Yep.
Did you hear what your mother said?
Yes.
Unless you take care of it once and for all, it's like an enemy that you wound over your shoulder. If you wound an enemy, that enemy can always come back to hurt you, right? Mm-hmm. That's drugs. You have to get rid of it. And he's not smart enough to get rid of it on his own. And he's never gone anywhere to help him get rid of it. So he's always going to go back to it. And he's going to suck you in if you let him. You understand?
Yes.
Good. So I'm glad you're working, sir. Good. And if I haven't been able to help you, that's too bad. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $5,000. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Teresa Saavedra is suing Adam Rivas for taking and wrecking her car. In a separate suit, the Benedettos are suing Teresa and Adam for damage to their classic Nissan 300ZX.
Who is Miss Saavedra? And Mr. Rivas? Why don't you folks have a seat, please, first, because I'm going to take care of this case first. Miss Saavedra, stand over there, because this case is a little complicated. I'm going to uncomplicate it for everybody. You own a car.
Right.
Or owned a car. What kind of car did you own?
It was a Ford
Speak
Taurus.
up.
Ford Taurus.
Mr. Rivas was your boyfriend?
No.
A friend?
Yeah.
According to your complaint, he stole your car.
Right.
You reported it stolen.
Right.
He was in an accident. Totaled the car?
Correct.
You want him to pay you the value of the car, or $5,000, because it was worth more than $5,000, but that's the limit of small claims court.
Correct.
Mr. Rivas says that he did not steal your car, he borrowed your car, he had an accident that was not his fault, and he shouldn't have to pay for it. That's your defense.
Yes.
These are the people who were involved in the accident. So we'll get to their case in a minute.
Okay.
Because they are suing the two of you. You as the owner of the car, and he is the driver of the car.
Right.
You get it?
I got it.
Correct. So, Mr. Rivas, when did you take the car?
Actually, we drove off the lot together with it, and she gave me the car. It was a gift. It was a gift.
Is what you're telling me, sir, that you drove off the lot the day the car was purchased?
Yes.
Did this accident occur at that time?
No.
How much time passed before the accident happened?
I would say about 3 weeks.
Who purchased the car?
She did.
And in whose name was the car?
Under her name.
Who paid for the car?
She did.
And she gave you the car as a gift?
Well, actually, I gave the down payment, which was like $300 for it.
Why was that, Mr. Rivas?
Because we had an agreement that the car would be mine if she took the car out. And all I would have to do is give the down payment or the deposit for the car.
Ah, I get it. Mr. Rivas, why can't you have a car in your name?
Because I don't have a license.
Why else?
That's it.
Why don't you have a license, Mr. Rivas?
It was revoked.
When?
I was like 17.
How old are you now?
21.
And when did you make this arrangement with Miss Saavedra?
After 2 weeks I met her. We came to an agreement to go to drive time and take out a car.
Now, why would she do that for you if you were just friends?
I don't know, the kindness out of her heart, I guess.
Shh. Now, if I were to call drive time, would they tell me that the two of you were in there together?
Yes.
When was the car purchased, Miss Saavedra?
5/17/04.
From the time you drove the car, sir, May 17th, 2004, until the day of the accident, which was on what date?
It had to be a couple weeks after that. I'm not too sure.
When was the accident, folks?
5704.
So you mean the accident was 5704 and you purchased the car 51704, so somehow that doesn't work out, Ms. Saavedra. Not even in the twilight zone of this courtroom purchased the car.
42204.
Ms. Saavedra, look at me. Was Mr. Rivas with you at drive time when you purchased the car?
Yes, he was.
All right. You see, none of this was in this paperwork. Do you think you're going to come here and throw some baloney to me that he stole the car?
No.
All right. From April 22nd, 2004 until May 7th, 2004, Mr. Rivas, did you have the car in your possession?
Yes, I did.
And you paid the $300 deposit?
Yes, I did.
Did you pay by check or cash?
It was cash.
Who did you give the cash to?
To the car salesman.
You have a copy of the contract? Yes. Does the contract say that there was a $300 deposit?
Yes, right here.
And does it say the $300 deposit was in cash?
No, it does not.
It was by check?
It says the total cost of the purchase is on credit, including your down payment, which is $300. It does not say anywhere about being in cash.
You didn't give him a check, though.
No.
So Mr. Rivas gave him cash.
He never gave anybody money.
Mr. Rivas drove the car out of the lot.
No, he did not.
Did you ever have the car in your possession from April 22nd until May 7th?
Yes, I did.
When?
The day that I drove it off the lot, and about a couple of days after, and then I stopped, and then I met up with him, and then we...
What do you mean you stopped?
I just thought I wasn't able to go. I didn't go anywhere. So I was in my house. And then he called threatening me to kill me. So then I...
Ms. Saavedra, do you think that I believe anything of what you're telling me now? I believe him. I believe him that you went to this drive time, because you didn't tell me anything about that in the paper. What you said in your complaint was he stole your car, and you reported the car stolen. And that's not what happened, is it?
Well, it is.
That's not really what happened, is it?
No, it is what happened. I have a police report and everything that I had made.
On what date?
5/14/04.
On the 14th of May?
Yes.
That's a week after the accident.
But he had took the car already.
A week after the accident, you reported the car stolen? When did he take the car? Ms. Saavedra, don't play around with me. When did he take the car?
I don't know the exact date, ma'am, but I just know he had took the car.
Well, why didn't you... Just a second. Why didn't you report it stolen the day he took the car?
I was scared. I didn't know what to do. And I had called him on his cell phone telling him he was going to bring it back, and he said that he will bring it back.
I don't believe you. I think you're full of baloney. I think you entered into a scam with him because you knew he had a suspended license, whether you liked him or not, whatever. I have no idea, nor do I care. But you went... You drove this car out, he took possession of the car, he drove the car, he had an accident, and now you're stuck with the payments. That's what happened. And then a week after the accident, you reported stolen to the police. Now.
Can I say, why would I honestly give anybody my car keys, you know, a brand new car?
Because, Ms. Saavedra, I do not believe you had any intention of this being your car. I believe that the intention was for Mr. Rivas to use this car, to make the payments on the car, because he had no license, and he got you as a patsy to put the car in your name. That's what I think happened. And then, when you realized that the car was in an accident and you were going to be in real trouble, a week later, you reported it stolen to the police. You didn't report it stolen a week before the accident. Let me see a copy of the police report.
He would go around my house honking, screaming my name.
I don't believe a word you're saying to me. Not a word, Ms. Saavedra. I think you got yourself caught in a scam. You did the wrong thing. That doesn't mean you're relieved, sir. You still drove this car. You had no right driving any car because you had a suspended license.
Yes, I understand that.
Well, where are you going to accept responsibility for that?
Take responsibilities for the car accident.
You do?
Yeah, I do.
It's not what you say here. You tell me that this lady was driving. She was drunk. That's what you said in your answer. I'm going to get to that case in a minute.
Okay.
What about this lady's car? We're not on this case here. You drove the car. You had no insurance?
No.
Why didn't you pay for insurance?
Because,
Because it wasn't your car.
Correct.
Because it was in her name.
Correct.
Right? So the only one who's going to get stiffed was her, right?
Correct.
How much was the car?
Total cost of the car was $18,569.96.
And you had no insurance?
No.
Well, maximum that this court is allowed to award you, let me see those papers, Bert, please.
Sure.
Is $5,000. You're on the books for the rest. Do you work?
Not yet, ma'am.
Not yet?
No.
How old are you?
22.
When are you going to start to work?
I just moved and I quit my job and I moved and I'm looking for a job now.
And what about you?
Not right now. Not at the moment.
Who feeds you?
Myself.
That means that somebody's got to give you money for food.
Well, I'm living under my parents' roof right now, so.
How old are you?
21.
What do your parents do for a living?
They own their own landscaping company.
Good. Are you disabled?
No, no, ma'am.
Then you work for them in cash. Because if they own their own landscaping business, I guarantee you I'm going to find a couple of people whose lawn you mow. Mr. Rivas, do we understand each other?
Yes, ma'am.
On your best day, you're not as smart as we are on our worst day. How many people you think I'm going to find whose lawns you mow, Mr. Rivas?
Not too sure. Not too sure, ma'am.
Mm-hmm. Your father mows people's lawns?
Yes, ma'am.
How many people does he have working for him?
About 10.
Are you on the books of the company? Is not an answer.
Yes, ma'am.
Well, if you're on the books of the company, then you get money. What's the name of the company?
Rivas Landscaping.
Rivas Landscaping. Very easy.
Yes, ma'am.
You're her $5,000, sir. But it doesn't go to her, it goes to the finance company. Now you can stand over next to him. Because now you're a co-defendant as the owner of the car, who I just figured out was full of baloney when she said the car was stolen. The car was part of a scam. You didn't think it was a scam because you're too young and stupid, but it was a scam. Now you may stand up. Mr. and Mrs. Benedetto?
Yes, ma'am.
On what day was the accident? The 7th of May?
May 7th.
No. You want to tell me what happened?
I pulled out of the gas station. When I get gas, I usually toss my wallet in the car. Well, when I got in the car, I drove up the street, and I didn't see my wallet there, so I figured it had bounced. So I pulled over, and when I pulled over...
where?
I pulled over on the side of the street.
Is it a street where you can't pull over? It's where cars are parked?
Right, where you parking. So I pulled over and got out of the car, went around to see if the wallet had fallen off to the side, because if it hadn't and it had bounced off, then I needed to go back to the gas station. So I put my knee on the seat, and next thing, there was just this big bang on the side of the car, and the car started to go over. In the meantime, I went over to the side as the car is going over.
You weren't in the car? You weren't in the driver's seat?
No, I was in the passenger seat.
You weren't moving at the time?
No, I was not moving.
What happened to your car?
It went over on the side. And
Can I see pictures of it?
Sure.
Who else was in the car with you?
Nobody. It was just me. I was on my way to meet my dad.
This is your husband?
This is my husband, yes.
So he is the co-owner of the car?
He is the owner.
Ooh, that's a nasty hit. I'm listening.
From what I recall, I was going straight down Devonshire, and
where were you going, sir?
I was going home.
From where?
From one of my friend's house down the street.
What were you doing there?
I was just chilling.
What?
Chilling, kicking it.
Oh, your parents must be so proud of you. Go ahead.
And I was driving down Devonshire, and she just pulled out, because I was going straight on, and she pulled out, and I hit her.
Well, she pulled out, you hit her, so you would have hit her in the front. You hit her at the rear of her car. How could you have hit her in the rear if she was pulling out?
Because I guess she was already on her way, and I guess I hit her in the back.
So if she's already on her way and you hit her in the rear, that means you weren't looking where you were going. Maybe you were chilling a little too much, kicking it a little too much with your friend. Maybe you ought to get out there more often and mow a few more lawns. Mr. Rivas, from Rivas Landscaping. When was the last time you filed tax return? It's not an answer.
I'm not sure. I don't think I've ever filed them.
The police came to the scene, Mr. Rivas. You were arrested, were you not?
Yes, I was.
What were you arrested for, Mr. Rivas?
I was arrested for driving without a license.
What else?
That's it.
You have any other warrants outstanding when you were arrested? It's not an answer, Mr. Rivas.
Yes, I did. I did.
Mr. Rivas, you're still trying to get over on me, sir. I've been a judge longer than you've been born. You think you're an unusual story? You're not. You're just a punk who caused a great deal of trouble for a lot of people because you're not entitled to drive a car if your license is suspended and you have no license. You conned this lady, so now she's in the hole for $13,000. You injured these people, their property. You almost killed her. There's a reason why the government didn't give you a license, sir. Because you shouldn't have one. Because you're an irresponsible baby. Oh. Are you an only child?
No, I'm actually the middle child.
There's also a problem with that. Were you able to have the car fixed or was it totaled?
It was totaled.
What kind of car was it?
1987 300 ZX.
Do you have a blue book value for the car?
Blue book is roughly $3,500.
Can I see that?
I'm sorry, that was $3,400.
Can I see
And
that?
I also have some comparables.
That's all right. I know the car.
I should mention that we did a great deal of additional work in that, the alternator, the water pump.
He's an idiot. What do you want me to do? I can't execute him. The only thing I can do for you is humiliate him a little bit and give you a judgment. What else am I going to do with him? His parents are not going to be proud of him. Rivas Landscaping and the people whose lawns he mowed are going to know that he's an idiot. If they see him driving around in a truck, they're going to know he has no right to do that. Anybody who lives in the neighborhood, when they see him driving a car, is going to call the police now and say there's somebody driving without a license. Right? Do you understand?
I understand.
There was a reason he was late for court today. Right? He was thinking, am I going to be dumb enough to go to court? What's going to happen to me? He had no clue how far it was going to go.
Hopefully he didn't hit anybody else's car on the way over.
Hopefully, sir. Hopefully. I'm not so sure. You got lost on your way coming here, Mr. Rivas?
No, I didn't.
How did you get here today? Is not an answer.
I got a ride.
You got a ride? Who drove you? There's a guard outside. Who drove you?
I don't remember her name.
Judging for the plaintiff in the amount of $3,500, which is a little over the blue book value of your car, you are a menace, sir. You don't deserve to be behind the wheel of a car. If anybody in your neighborhood, if anybody in the vicinity sees you behind the wheel of a car, I assume you do not have your driver's license?
No.
Is that right? Call the police, everyone. He's a menace and does not have a driver's license, nor will he probably get one for a very long time. Thank you very much. That's all.
April Harrington says former live-in boyfriend Fred Badman sold her belongings after she moved out. Fred is countersuing, claiming April also stole from him.
Ms. Harrington, according to the complaint that I read, you and the defendant were in a relationship and lived together for a period of time. When you moved in together, you took some of your stuff and put it in a storage unit. The storage unit was in Mr. Badman's name.
That's right.
And he paid for it.
No.
That's what he says. There came a time when the two of you parted company, a day that you will tell me about briefly, and it is your claim that he got rid of the stuff in your storage unit, which you wanted back. Mr. Badman acknowledges that he emptied the storage unit. Some of your stuff he gave to the Salvation Army. Some of your furniture he still has. And the reason he did that was that when you moved out, you took a substantial amount of property that did not belong to you, that belonged to him and to his daughter, and he has a counterclaim. How long did you live together?
He moved in with me in February of 2004. He had a dog, and I had a dog, and I was only allowed one dog at my apartment complex. Therefore, he moved into his own place, and about a few weeks after him living there, he begged me to move in, told me how much cheaper it would be.
Just listen to me.
Okay.
This is not a 1,000-page tome that we're going to do here. When did you move in together?
May of 2004.
And when did you put your property in storage?
The end of May, I believe.
The day she moved in. There wasn't room in my apartment for many of the things.
What did you put in storage?
I put living room furniture, dishes. My parents had started collecting teddy bears for me when I was a child. A futon, a bed, clothes, shoes, dresser, desk combination, a glass mirror, and my diploma, important tax information papers, all sorts of things.
And when did you separate?
July 25th, 2004.
Tell me the circumstances surrounding your moving out.
I had found out that he had been cheating on me with her. That is his baby's mother. We were going to court for custody of his child, me and him together, and I found out that he was cheating on me. I came home from work early, asked him, you know, why are you doing this? Can we please talk about this? He then shoved me into a dresser, and I dislocated my finger. The police then told him that he should leave the apartment for a few days while I got my things together. Within those 3 days, he came back and broke in his own door, busted the lock off, and I moved out the very next day because I wasn't safe living there with no lock on the door. I took the things that belonged to me, and only me. The only thing that I have of him are some pornography tapes that I did not bring with me because of the security on the airplane, and I didn't want them flashing about. They're kind of disgusting.
What'd you take them for?
They were actually in a box of movies of mine.
When did you try to get your property back?
Right after I moved out, I went to the storage unit to see. I had a key to it because my things were in it. I did pay for it, and he had changed the locks.
Now I'll hear you, sir.
When we did break up, it was because of accusing me of fooling around with her. We were just friends. We've always stayed friends because we have a child in common. So I didn't want to argue, so I left the home. She called the police. We went down there. She decided she didn't want to charge say anything because she told the police that I beat her up or whatever. So then we went to the police station.
You did. You broke my
anything. She did not file the report. Anything. She said.
Shh. Don't say anything when he's testifying. You know how quiet he was when you were telling me your story?
Mm-hmm.
I read your complaint very carefully. You came home and you wanted to talk to him. That's
Correct.
what you said in your complaint.
Correct.
He was sleeping.
No, he was up.
It says, I'm reading from your complaint, things were going terribly for us, and he was served with an eviction notice. On July 25th, not June, on July 25th, 2004, everything came to a head. We were in an argument. I came home from work to talk to Fred. He was sleeping, and I tried to get him to talk to me. That's what you said.
Okay, that's fine.
And when you want to talk to somebody and they're sleeping and they don't want to communicate with you, you get angry.
No, I was not angry.
You weren't angry.
No, I was not.
No, you weren't angry.
I was upset.
You were living with somebody. You think he was fooling around with the mother of his child. According to you, you came home. You found him sleeping. You went in there and he didn't want to talk to you. And so he broke your finger.
He did.
Miss Harrington, I have no question that your finger got broken.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think he broke it.
He wrote it in his report to the police. I actually have it.
Oh,
if
I'd
you'd
like to see that. He said he broke your finger. I'd like to see that.
Yes, it does
I
say that.
squeezed her hand. And that was after she went and punched the wall
It's
about 20
highlighted in
times
yellow.
around her. On the report, it says that there's no injuries to anybody. She didn't report any injuries to the police.
No,
right
there were none marked.
I just wanted her to leave me alone. April started to poke me on the right side of my body with her finger. I told her to leave me alone. She continued to poke me with her finger, saying, stop being a blank jerk and talk to me. You know, you live long enough, you could practically write the scenario. I want to talk to you. Leave me alone. I just want to sleep. I don't want to talk to you now. Leave me alone. I want to talk to you. Then you say, I rolled over and grabbed her hand. I cannot remember which I had grabbed, but it was her bad hand, and she started crying. April asked me why I grabbed her like that, and I said, because you keep poking me.
I wasn't poking him. I really wanted to talk about it. I was very upset.
Listen to me. I got it. You just told me you weren't upset.
No,
listen to me. A moment ago, you said, I came home from work, I just wanted to talk, I wasn't upset. Listen to me, Miss Harrington.
Your Honor, I wasn't angry. I was very upset. I was crying, hurt. I was not angry.
Then what I'm telling you is, you upset, angry, whatever it was, you can't put your hands on somebody like this. And if they don't like it, which she said, you gave me the report. So you want to vouch for the truth of this report.
No, just
the part that you like.
No, that's not true. If
Just
you
the
read
part-
my
listen,
statement also.
I'm reading his statement.
Okay.
That's what you gave me.
If you keep reading it, he also pushed me in the face and kicked me off the bed. And
listen to me. He wanted you to leave him alone.
So it's okay if he kicks me and...
You shouldn't have put your hands on him. Miss Harrington, you put your hands on
I wasn't hurting him. I was...
Listen to me. You can't put your hands on somebody and continue to irritate them and expect them to do nothing.
That's fine.
Good. What property of hers did you give away to the Salvation Army?
Things I gave away of hers. I went and retrieved all the stuff from the storage unit because I didn't want to pay
What
anymore
month
on
did
it.
you do that?
February 05, ma'am.
So you left it there for 6 months?
Many months I left it there.
She asked you for the stuff back.
I wanted my items back before I was going to give her anything. That's what I told her.
What items were they?
She took my entertainment stand, a bunch of movies.
Just a second. Entertainment stand. What does that look like, sir?
It's right here. And a tent. That's what I got pictures of. An entertainment stand, some movies.
Okay. I mean, this entertainment stand, did you put it together yourself?
Yes, I did.
You put it together yourself?
Yes. I bought it from an appliance store years ago.
$69, you put it all together?
No, it was $300. It's a large entertainment stand.
I'm looking at it, sir. I got it.
Okay.
Let us say she took the entertainment stand. And she took... Did you take his tent?
No, I did not.
Did you take his entertainment stand?
He gave that to me because where he was moving had a big screen TV and he no longer needed it.
Oh.
Big screen TV.
What else do you say she took of yours, sir?
She took my fishing tackle box, some PlayStation 1 video games. I don't know why she would have took my Jack, but Jack wasn't at my house no more. And she took my daughter's clothing and toys. Because when we were living together, we went out together, bought clothing and toys and many things for my daughter's birthday when she turned 1. And when she moved out, she figured I bought them, I'm taking them myself. So she took all the things that we bought together for my daughter.
All the things that she paid for?
Correct.
Good.
We paid for
Listen to me. All the things that you paid for.
Correct.
Listen to me, Miss Harrington. You may have paid for them, but once you make a gift, then they no longer belong to you.
Okay, I actually bought them because we were going to custody for the child.
I don't care. They were not... The clothes didn't fit you.
Correct.
The toys weren't for you to play with. And once you purchase something and give it away, the gift is complete. You no longer have ties to it. You cannot take it. Do you understand?
Yes, I do.
So that was wrong.
I know that was wrong.
So why didn't you give them back?
I took them out of spite, actually, honestly. And I did not give them back because we didn't talk anymore after that. He no longer... He wouldn't give me my things out of the storage unit. And
did he ask you for his daughter's
No,
things
he
back?
never. He gave them to me willingly.
No, I don't believe that, Madam. You just said to me, that's a fib. Fib. Because you just said to me, I took them out of spite.
Ma'am,
listen to me. You can't have it both ways.
I asked them for them back out of spite, yes, and he did give them to me willingly. I went to his new house.
Sounds to me
after
like
he
you
moved.
two people did a lot of nasty things to each other.
Very true.
But, Mr. Badman, you cannot dispose of her property.
I kept...
You can go to court and seek to recoup your $29.99 TV stand. Or, if you say your tent, which she says she doesn't have, that you can do. But you cannot give away her property.
I kept the important things, Your Honor. I kept all of her...
Oh, good. That's what I want to see. What important things that you kept?
I kept all of the furniture that she had, and I kept important documents like her taxes that she's been wanting.
Good.
And
I'd like to see all of those
her
things, sir.
GED papers.
Perfect. Oh, this is going
Would
to
you
be
like
such
my list also?
I'm speaking.
Okay.
It's all junk, Your Honor. Yes, I
In
have
your
all that.
house?
It's at my aunt's house.
It looks like it's in a barn.
It is. So I wasn't going to keep paying $85 a month for stuff.
You should have given it back to her.
I didn't want to do that when she's kept all my stuff.
You're a big baby, Mr. Badman. You're a baby.
All right.
Yeah, you're a baby. 5 days from today, she's going to pick up all of her property. It's to be put together in good order.
The place where my things are at, there are 13 cats. And the house itself and the barn itself is absolutely covered in feces
It's not true,
and
Your
urine.
Honor.
Miss Harrington, this is your choice. The property has been in Mr. Badman's possession now for over a year.
Correct.
You had a choice. Your choice was to immediately pursue him in court, just as you did now, a
He
month
told me
later.
he
Listen
sold
to
it.
me. A month later, and get your stuff.
He told me he sold it.
Well, then what brought you here a year later? It's not an answer.
He started leaving notes in my car, like trying to get in contact with me, so I went to see him, and he told me he sold them.
And I'm telling you, what you did was you waited for a year to pursue a matter in court, and now if you don't like the way the stuff has been, you're not going to get the cash for it. Okay. Now I want you to tell me what you gave to Salvation Army.
I gave 2 Rubbermaid bins of clothing that was all moldy and gross from sitting around forever. the little box of ceramic dishes that she had. A few of them items were broke, so I had to throw them in the garbage. And a little bag of teddy bears or just junk, and that was it.
Mr. Badman, that junk is going to cost you $1,000.
For dishes?
They weren't broken when she left them. And the clothes weren't moldy when she left them. And the teddy bears were a collection of hers. And you had no right to dispose of them. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
Very good. Now, what proof do you have that she took any of your property?
I don't really have proof of anything because when I've broken up with girls before, and I've dealt with them stealing like a couple things, and I just wanted to move on with my life.
You mean this has happened to you before?
Yes, ma'am.
How many times?
A couple.
You're very unlucky in love. Are you together now with the mother of your child?
Yes, I am, Your Honor.
You live together?
She's my fiancée. She's going to be married soon.
Oh, wonderful. So, did a little bit
Getting my
backwards,
life all straightened out, and everything's good, and just want to be with my child and get all this over with.
Very good. My complaint against Miss Harrington is a complaint that I can put on your shoulders as well, sir. You had a legal remedy, right?
I didn't choose to do anything.
You chose to do nothing.
Right.
And you have no proof that she took anything.
And she has no proof of what was in the storage unit either.
Listen to me.
Of the few items that she does have.
You just told me what it was that you, as far as I'm concerned, maliciously gave away, including something that she says was a teddy bear collection that she had for a very long time, and you said it was a bunch of junk teddy bears. It's not nice. That's irritating. You told me that. She didn't. I wouldn't even look at her list. I asked you what she gave to Salvation Army. So your counterclaim's dismissed. 5 days from today, she's going to pick up all of her stuff. And you owe her $1,000 for the stuff that you gave away wrongfully. That's all. Step out.
Jessica Eveler says her half-sister, Melanie Zampino, stole furniture during tenancy in her home. Jessica claims she kicked Melanie out because she was using drugs.
Miss Eveler, the defendant is your half-sister, and according to what I read, you only recently, in the last few years, had a relationship with each other.
Yes.
According to your complaint, you rented a home that you own to your sister with the understanding that she would have an option to buy it after she paid rent for a while.
Yes.
Subsequently, within a relatively short period of time after she moved in, you evicted her. But your lawsuit wants your furniture back. And you say when you left some furniture in the basement that was yours. You allowed her to use some furniture. But when she moved out, she took your things. The defendant says that you gave her a living room set, that the bedroom furniture that you claim you want back was actually repossessed by the company that you had rented it from, so she doesn't have that. And she is counterclaiming because she says that because of your precipitous behavior, which was not warranted by anything she did, she was forced to move. She had moving expenses. She was forced to move very quickly, and she wants to be compensated for that and all of her emotional distress. When did you lease her your house?
It was in July.
And when did you evict her?
I gave her notice September 10th.
Had she paid rent in August?
Yes.
Had she paid rent in September?
No.
Why did you evict her?
There was drug usage going on, and I only agreed to 4 people living in the house.
How did you know there was drug use going on in the house?
August 24th, my uncle came there, and they smoked it right in front of him.
Smoked what?
Pot.
Who did?
Melanie and a guy named by the name of Brandon.
You agreed, you said, for 4 people to live in the house?
Yes.
Who were the 4 people?
Her, Christina New Church, which is right over there, and their...
Is this a friend?
It's my roommate. We've lived together for 9 years.
Okay.
And they have each 1 child.
How many people were living there?
Between 7 and 8.
Who else was living there?
I got 2 people that were not even residing there, a piece of mail of theirs.
Can I see?
Mm-hmm.
Who's Brandon?
My cousin. He did not live there. He stayed there occasionally during the week because Christina works 3rd shift, and he tended the kids. I did pay him.
Where did he live otherwise?
He lived with his father.
Was Joseph?
My husband. Some of my utilities were in his name. My husband and I have been separated for...
Tell me about the furniture.
We did have a verbal agreement about the living room set. If she purchased the home, it would be added in with the cost of the house. However, she didn't buy the house, so the furniture didn't come with the house. And I did try to call her.
Go ahead. Let's deal with the living room furniture first.
Okay. When we discussed the house, she said to me, you can have my washer and dryer, you can have my living room set, you can have the bedroom set if you paid the last $150 to Color Time where she was renting her bedroom set from. I said, I have an antique set. I don't want the bedroom set, but I will take the living room set because mine is used. The living room set was stained with marker. One of her children must have wrote on it. Her husband works on cars. There's massive grease marks on the one where he must have sat regularly, which I have all pictures to show. She gave me the living room set. She never said if you purchase the home or if we don't come back, because when she actually on September 10th asked me to move out, she told me it was because her grandmother threw her out of the house that she was staying in South Carolina. I do not use drugs, and I'm
Can I see a
appalled.
picture of this living room set that she wants back?
Of just the living room set in question?
Mm-hmm.
Because I did bring pictures of my old living room set just to show you why I would switch.
You're talking about the sofas and the end tables as well?
And the coffee table. And I did attempt to take pictures of the markings.
For when I left, there might have been a little bit of like grease stains, but there was no marker on my living room set. It was only...
When did you purchase it?
February of 2 years ago.
You have a receipt for it?
Mm-hmm.
Can I see it, please? And who lived in the house with you?
My husband and my 2 children.
How old are your children?
1 and 2.
This doesn't tell me when you purchased it. Take that, please, Bert. Return that to her. I don't know what this furniture looked like when you left, but certainly a month later, it looks pretty used and pretty abused to me. And when you have 2 young children, that's what furniture like this looks like. Certainly not worth much. You'd have to pay somebody to take it out. You would. You'd have to pay somebody to take out these 2 sofas. What's next? What about the bedroom's furniture?
I purchased that, and I actually have the original bill. And when I got into my house in late September, I came to clean it up and stuff. The bed was set up, but it was sliced. The bed was set up in the basement like someone had been sleeping there.
So what are you talking about? Just the mattress?
The mattress and the headboard was damaged, and I have pictures of that.
Who slept on the mattress?
When we lived there, me and my husband.
When I lived there, no one. I had my own set.
Fine. Did you slice the mattress?
I did not. I also have a letter from Color Time stating that they repossessed her bedroom furniture that she left in the basement.
We're not talking about that. We're talking about the mattress.
Oh.
And they took the dressers, by the way, because I had asked them to take the dressers.
We're not talking about a whole bunch of money. I mean, we're certainly not talking about $3,500. Maybe we're talking about $100. I'm just trying to figure out why we're all here.
I'd like to make a statement on that.
Go ahead.
Judge Judy, because I feel that we're here for the same reason that Jessica, the only time she ever interacts with me is when there's trouble to be made. When she needs something, she'll call me. When she needs a babysitter, she'll call me. I actually paid money to find her because I wanted to know my sister. And the only thing that's coming out of this, no matter how you look at it, is a destroyed relationship.
That's unfortunate. When did she tell you to move?
September 10th.
And when did you move?
She gave me until September 28th when she started calling the law and having her stepfather threaten to put me out the quote-unquote old-fashioned way.
Did anything happen September 10th that precipitated this?
No.
I basically had coming back to Pennsylvania. My grandma her name's on the house also, so she had a decision to make, and she made that.
That doesn't give me an answer. That's a lot of double talk. You were coming back to live there, is that right?
Yes.
All right, so you were coming back to live there, so you told her to move.
Yes, well, the drug usage was the reason why.
No! Because if the drug usage was the reason why, you would have told her to move on August 24th or August 25th. You didn't. Or the 26th, 27th, 28th, 29th, 30th, 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, and 9th. You told her to move on September 10th because you had to come back to your house. So stop making up excuses. You get it?
Yes.
And you had a responsibility to give her 30 days notice. You didn't do that.
In that town, you only have to legally give 10 days.
Because you're not allowed to legally rent without a renter's permit, and she didn't have one.
Not nice. So you get nothing. Not even the $100 that maybe your mattress is worth if it was destroyed, and maybe your coffee tables were worth. Because what you did was the wrong thing. Because they're living there with, let's say, 4 people, including 2 children. Mm-hmm. 2 children who by September 10th have started school, have settled in, and because you can't live where you were going to live and had to come home, you told them to move and gave them what I consider no notice. Not even the right thing to do to a stranger, but to do to somebody who's related to you? Outrageous. Now, where did you move?
I live in Dover. I'd like not to say exactly where because
Fine. Did you pay her September's rent?
I did. I have that here.
Can I see it, please?
Then she didn't pay August. She paid 1 month.
How many months' rent did you pay?
I only paid September because when she moved, I was supposed to move in September 1st. When she moved, she had gone down to South Carolina and came back. There was some like flooding. People were messing around with her house. She said, Melanie, please just move in as soon as possible. I had to clean up as well.
Just a second. When did you move in?
Mid-July.
Well, then you should have paid 2 months' rent. You only paid 1. You saved a little bit of money so that you had enough money to put down on another apartment. I'm gonna entertain.
Yes, the only problem that I had was just finding something. We moved.
And you
lived
found
just fine.
something?
Yes.
That's good.
Can I say something, Matt? The electric and gas was shut off September 22nd. When my grandfather went the 26th, everything was moldy, the freezer, everything. So they were out for a
Listen
while.
to me very carefully. You did the wrong thing. You wanted to move back to your house. You wanted her out. It had nothing to do with drugs or other people living there. It had to do with you coming home because you had no place else to live. So I don't know why you're suing her, because the truth of the matter is, if you hadn't brought this lawsuit, she wouldn't have counterclaimed. She was willing to forget it.
Yes, I
Forget
redid an
it.
entire
It's over.
room.
It's over. You did the wrong thing. You owe an apology, not a lawsuit. Case is dismissed. That's all.
All is excused. You may step out.
David and Janelle Rennie claim Janelle's son, Keith Harvey, owes for car payments, insurance payments, parking tickets, and a loan for rent.
Mrs. Rennie, this is your son and your stepson, sir. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And Mr. Rennie, it is your claim that Mr. Harvey owes you and your wife money for a series of loans that you made to him. And in addition, he owes you money for taking care of his 11-year-old son, who he left with you when he moved out.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Harvey says that you volunteered to take care of his son, and that this money that both you and his mother gave him were gifts. That's your defense. And you're sticking to it.
Yes, Your Honor.
How old are you?
32.
How many children do you have?
3.
How many live with you?
2.
How old are they?
5 and 3 months.
Is the mother of the 2 children also living with you?
Yes, Your Honor.
Were you separated from her for a period of time?
Yes, Your Honor.
For how long?
Well, it's 5, 6 months.
And how much after you got back together again did she become pregnant?
How much more?
Immediately.
You moved
Yes.
back together when?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, Your Honor.
Yes, what? I know that you moved back together. When is the question?
Trying to think.
You were living with your mother and a husband, with your 11-year-old son. Where's his mother?
She lives in Jacksonville, Florida.
Anything wrong with her?
No, Your Honor.
Do you have legal custody of him?
No, Your Honor.
Who does?
She does.
Well, why was he living with you? These are not hard questions, sir. You should be able to give me a quick answer.
She's a deadbeat mother.
Well, deadbeat mother means she doesn't pay any support. That's
She doesn't
different.
pay any support.
If she has legal custody, she's supposed to have him with her.
Yes, Your Honor.
But he wasn't with his mother. He was with you. My question was why?
Because his mother's home got burglarized, and I felt it was unsafe for him to live there.
So when did you take him?
I can't think exact the timing.
What year?
It was 2006.
She have other children?
Yes, she does.
Did she ask you to come and take him?
Well, I thought it was best in his interest.
I didn't ask you what you felt. I asked if his mother, who was his custodian, asked you to come and take him. Is that
Yes,
right?
she did.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. I mean, I don't know if he's not thinking right.
She demanded someone come get him.
In what month in 2006 did...
It was actually 2005. It was September.
And he came and brought his son to you?
In the beginning, his son lived with my daughter, his sister, and then in January 2006, he brought him into the home with us because my daughter can no longer take care of him.
Is he a problem?
He isn't with us, but he's very argumentative, and I think it's just the way he's been, from going back and forth. And his mother is not a very good mother. She never gave him a lot of attention and stuff, so he can be difficult.
Well, when you have 2 non-parents, it's hard to grow up yourself.
That's exactly right.
I'm just curious, Mr. Harvey. Well, you don't know dates. Your mother will tell me. When did he move out of your house?
He actually physically moved out of our house in February '06.
Leaving his son with you?
Yes, ma'am.
Is he still there?
He's still there.
How's he doing?
He's doing great.
Why don't you just keep him there?
I think that's what we're going to do.
Have you gone to court for custody?
Yes, ma'am. We have temporary guardianship and custody right now until the juvenile district makes it permanent. And that can be any time now.
Who pays support for him?
No one. at this time.
Not him?
His father was paying support up until July of '06, which automatically comes out of his paycheck and goes through the court system, and the mother was receiving it, and she was keeping it. She was not giving it to us for the child. I have an appointment through child support recovery. We've already did one appointment. They're going in front of the judge, actually.
You are?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so you should get that money retroactively.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, fine. So I don't have to deal with that. Look at how this is nice. It's going to be coming out of his pay retroactively to the day he stopped paying child support.
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, perfect. So now we can move on to the other loans. Now, tell me about the other money, Mr. Rennie.
Good morning, ma'am. We financed a vehicle for him. When he went to jail in 2004...
What did he go to jail for?
Domestic violence charge.
Against whom?
The girlfriend he's living with currently. The vehicle was refinanced at that time. The payments went on. He was making the payments. The June payment was not made. The June payment came out of my son's 13-year-old savings account because our bank takes it from where there's money. July's payment, he made half of. And he came to us in July and said, I'm going to be getting my own place in August. So we said, you know, contingent, you were supposed to come take your son in August to come live with you. School starts and he can be in the house and all that good stuff. August came, and I went to bring him there, and he refused him. He told his son, I can't take you, I can't afford you right now. So rather than make a stink, we just
That's what you told your son?
I didn't refuse him. I told them that the timing wasn't right at the time, and as soon as I get on my feet, he'll be living with me. I was just trying to get ahead, Your Honor.
You don't get ahead by making another baby. You got enough babies. You had enough babies before you had this one. How many car payments did you make for him?
We made June's, the other half of July's, and August and September.
What arrangements did you make with him to repay you?
He'd been paying it all up until that point.
I understand that, sir. But once you pay, unless you have a contract with him to repay you, that's a gift. What about the car payments, sir? Why didn't you make the car payments? Too busy making a baby?
No, Your Honor.
Well, what were you busy doing, sir, instead of making your car payments? You were using the car, weren't you?
I've given my mom tax money out of my taxes, which I think should clear up that debt.
When?
It was in a period of 2 years.
When, I said?
In 2004, 2005.
Listen to me. Money out of your taxes 3 years ago, I'm not interested in. I'm interested in car payments that they made for you in 2006, sir.
Yes, Your Honor.
Why didn't you make your own car payments?
I got behind on it.
What were you doing with the money? What was your girlfriend doing? Nothing. Okay. What else, Mr. Rennie?
Car insurance from February to August of '06 was not paid, in total about $600.
Well, why did you pay for the insurance? Why didn't you just cancel the insurance, put a boot on the car?
The insurance was on our policy, and we were just trying to help him.
I understand that, but he didn't pay it. So why didn't you just go repossess the car?
We figured having a car was necessary to have a job to take care of the children. We tried to help every step of the way.
I understand that. That's a gift, not a loan.
Well, we had to improve his policy on the car because he's a courier. So we had to add extra stuff. So he came to us.
And said what?
And said, Mom, David, I need you to add these extra coverages so that I'm covered under my job, and I will pay the insurance.
But he didn't.
But he didn't.
So why did you continue to pay it?
Well, we canceled that in August.
In August.
August.
Good.
So for July and August, we added more coverage.
Okay, and how much was the additional coverage for July and August?
It was an extra $40 a month.
What else?
In September of '06, my wife received a call from the police department. The vehicle was downtown.
Shh. You had the discussion with the police?
Yes, ma'am.
As a result of that discussion, what did you do?
His girlfriend was driving the truck. She had gotten numerous amount of parking tickets, which we didn't know, and they had put a boot on the automobile.
Sounds perfect to me.
So I had to meet the police officers downtown to keep the car from being towed into the lot and having to pay extra storage fees and stuff. Had to pay the tickets and got the truck released back to us.
So where's the truck now?
We have it.
Perfect. So you have it. You have another car?
Yes, Your Honor.
From where did you get another car?
Honda?
When?
3 months ago.
Where'd you get the money from? Why are you looking at me like I'm speaking some sort of foreign tongue?
I didn't need any money down. My sister helped me out, and she co-signed for the car.
Your sister?
Yes, Your Honor.
That your daughter?
Yes, ma'am. We tried to talk to her. We told her, you know, we still have the payments from the truck that we financed. It's $320 a month car payment. We still have to make that payment.
What else?
The tickets totaled $412. And in August, my wife loaned him money for his first month's rent of $980.
Why did you do that?
I don't know why I did it. He calls me, makes me feel bad. So I met him and I helped him.
I assume by now you've learned your lesson.
Yes, ma'am.
Did you tell your mother you would pay her back the rent money?
No, Your Honor.
You didn't. What did you tell her?
She told me she'd help me out at the time.
Were you working?
Yes, Your Honor. Courier service.
And how much were you earning?
Roughly $700 a week.
And your girlfriend?
She doesn't work right now.
Why not?
Because my son's only 3 months old.
Well, when you're not working and you're home, you take care of your son, let your girlfriend go out to work.
That's what we're trying to do.
That's not a try. That's what you have to do. Time you grew up, sir, you made 3 children in your life. 3. That makes you a big boy. Act like a big boy. Don't act like an idiot. And I don't know if you're doing a stupid act with me or if this is really the way you are. I'm not sure. But I know that you owe your mother and your stepfather $1,472. That's all. Step out.
James White's fiancée Karen Rundell owes for a loan to retain a lawyer. Karen says she gave her paycheck to James the entire time they lived together.
Mr. White, you and the defendant lived together, according to the complaint that I've read, for a period of time. And it is your claim that during that time you made a loan to her in the amount of $5,000 as a retainer for an attorney because she was having some legal problems. The defendant says that while she acknowledges that you wired the money into a joint bank account that you had for the attorney, that money was paid back because all that money that was in the joint bank account was put in by both of you subsequently. So the money was repaid.
In my opinion, yes, it was.
When did you start living together, Mr. White?
We started living together in April of '04.
How long had you known each other before you moved in together?
I knew of her approximately a year prior to that.
What does that mean?
Well, I was best friends with her brother and basically met her through her brother.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, when you moved in together in April of 2004, did you move into her place, your place, or a mutual place?
My place.
And, Your Honor, it was July of '04.
She's probably right, Mr. White.
Yeah, we had a birthday party for me in April, so yeah, then it was shortly after that. That's correct.
What was the financial arrangement when she moved into your house?
Financial arrangement? We really didn't establish any. I paid my bills and she paid her bills. She did insist that she put her check into my checking account. That didn't have anything to do with this particular item.
Just a second.
Yeah.
She put her paycheck into your checking account.
That's correct.
How much was your paycheck, Ms. Rundell?
$1,688 a month. And it was not a joint checking account. It was his checking account. I did not have access to that account in any way.
When did you make your first deposit into his checking account of $1,688?
I believe it would have been the month of July. I moved in roughly maybe the second week in July after we'd returned from vacation.
So let's be on the safe side. Let's say August.
That would be safe to say.
And how many months did you put your paycheck into that joint account?
Every month.
Until when?
Until January. My paychecks ended in January. Unemployment
August,
started.
September, October, November, December. 5 months.
And January.
And January.
Correct.
So it's 6 months, and that's easily verifiable by looking at your bank statement.
No, I don't agree with her putting that much money in there. She didn't have any credit, so she was using my bank to cash her checks. I wasn't aware that she was putting that money into my checking account every time.
This is a savings account statement right here. I could have put it in my savings had I been allowed to. This shows that there was no money that went into this account until a tax return was automatically deposited in the month of March.
Do you have your bank statement, sir?
No, ma'am, I don't. I just have a check that I had wrote her. I didn't even know she had a savings account.
I don't care whether you knew she had a savings account or not, sir. You get a checking account statement every month.
Correct.
And every month you would see a deposit in there.
Right.
And that deposit would not be your deposit. I mean, we know what our deposits are. So she was depositing her check into your account. And that account would also show certain withdrawals if she was using your checking account as merely just a revolving door for her money. She was putting it in and cashing it.
She was putting her check into my checking account during the beginning of her stay at my place, and then we were using my check to write checks for all the bills.
It was not in name a joint account, but it was a joint account because that money was being used to pay joint bills.
Correct.
$1,688 per month.
Correct.
Are you chewing gum?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so let us assume everything that you say is correct. That for 6 months you put in.
Yes.
That comes to $10,128. Now, why did you need an attorney?
I had filed a police report as a mandatory reporter with the police department there locally where I live.
Is it a criminal matter?
Yes, ma'am.
Is the matter still pending?
Yes, ma'am.
And you retained a private attorney?
Correct.
And you discussed that with Mr. White?
Correct.
Is that right, sir?
Yes, I had no knowledge of her making this report.
I don't care about the
Okay.
substance of the case.
Okay.
The need for an attorney, something else.
Correct. We did discuss the need for an attorney, and it was important that she hired a good one for this situation.
So what did you say to her?
So we made arrangements to lend her $5,000 off my credit card.
That's a conclusion, sir.
We had talked about this and discussed we needed to retain $5,000 for this attorney, and we decided to take this off of a credit card that I have. I had no credit card debts at all. One of the qualities she talked about with me is that I wasn't in any debt. This was a special occasion that I needed to help her out on, so I decided to take a credit card, dump the credit card into my checking account, and give her a check on November 28th for $5,000. She told me when she got her income tax that she would give me half of it in one lump sum and make payments on the rest, and I was fine with that.
That is not true.
Well, tell me what the discussion was, Ms. Rundell.
The discussion, there was never a discussion around the credit card, just like there wasn't a discussion about how we were going to pay our bills when the money was lumped together in the checking account. What we had discussed on many different occasions was how we were going to use the money wisely. This chunk of money, which would have been around $6,000 for the tax return, what were we going to do with it?
You were going
many
to
different. I was talking. On many different occasions, we talked about different things. We talked about we would take a trip, but not too far. Didn't want to spend too much money. We talked about paying a big chunk of it to Bank One credit card, which the attorney came off of. We also talked about paying off his Washington state unemployment money that he still owed. When I moved in, was $4,000. It was down to $1,500. We wanted to eliminate that payment each month.
All right, let's get back to talking a little bit turkey, Ms. Rundell. It is your defense that you put in your check into the account and you were living like a married couple.
Correct.
And when you moved in together in July, it was your intention that your money be spent on household bills.
Mm-hmm.
And you didn't need an attorney until what month?
October.
That's not a household bill. So that what it really did was cut your participation in the household bills in half. Because if you deposited $10,000 into this account to pay for your expenses during the course of that 6 months, madam, and you withdrew $5,000 out of it for your own personal use, then it's very possible that Mr. White is correct, that it was anticipated that you would be repaying this account when you got your tax return.
It wasn't repaying that account. The tax return coming in and was going to be used to pay bills wisely, not just on a credit card. This has nothing to do with paying back the credit card. It has to do with Mr. White and his continued abuse and harassment that has not stopped and will not stop.
It will stop when he gets his money back.
That's right.
Trust me, it won't stop.
There isn't a question in my mind that we probably wouldn't be here having this discussion if the two of you were still together. Because if you were still together, you would be continuing to contribute your $16.88 a month into this account. And eventually, this $5,000 would be paid back from payments to the credit card. But you're not together anymore. And Mr. White feels as if he's a fool because he had this outlay of money, and now you're not together anymore. You got your tax return back. There was discussion about paying back this, whatever, Capital One card or whatever it is. Some of the money that he gave you to pay your lawyer. You're still using the services of the lawyer, correct?
Correct.
Have you given the lawyer any more money?
No, ma'am.
Okay, so you're still living off of that $5,000. And he says, minimally, our agreement was that she was going to continue to put her $16.88 into the account so we could at least pay the lawyer back from that money. That stopped. Listen, you want him to leave you alone?
I do.
Pay him his money. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $5,000. That's all.
Parties are excused. You messed up.
Betty Shapiro is suing her son, 22-year-old Jason Hartwick, for a loan to buy an '88 Mustang and for a loan to pay restitution.
Mrs. Shapiro.
Yes.
This is your son.
Yes, it is.
Was he a cute baby?
Very cute.
Did you ever think when he was born, when you were taking care of his colds, and when you were cleaning up after him, that you'd ever be suing him?
Never.
You must be pretty frustrated.
Very frustrated. He owes me money. I mean, it's not even the money. It's the issue of responsibility. He needs to pay his debts, and that's why we're here.
How many children do you have?
4.
Where does he fit in?
The second son. I have an older son, him, a younger son, and a daughter.
What about your other children? They okay?
They're fine.
So this is what the case is about. You loaned him money for a car.
Correct.
Tell me your first name.
Jason.
Jason, when did your mother loan you money for a car?
I'd say last year around
Mr.
February.
Shapiro, when did you loan her money for the car?
May 13th of 05.
What kind of a car did you buy, Jason?
I bought a 67 Mustang.
67 Mustang?
Or, no, it was an 88, sorry. I was thinking of a different car. 88
You're only
5.0. Sorry.
century apart. What?
It's an 88 5.0 Mustang.
And according to your complaint, Mr. Shapiro, he paid on the car.
Yes, he made 4 payments.
And what was the total amount he borrowed?
$1,500.
How much did he pay you?
On 6/14 of 05, he paid $120. On 7/18, he paid $95. On 8/20, he paid $80. On 9/21, he paid $75.
And then he stopped paying. And Jason says he stopped paying because the car got towed.
Yep.
And he couldn't get the car out of impound because he didn't have any money.
Correct.
So he called you, and he said, can you give me some money so I can get my car out of tow? You said, I don't have any money to give you to get your car out of tow. So the car didn't get out of tow. He lost the car, and he says it's your fault that he lost the car so he doesn't have to pay any more money.
Right.
Right? That's your defense.
Yep.
Do you want to say that to me? Because I've said it now, but I would like to hear it coming from your mouth, Jason.
Well, I borrowed the money, I got the car, then where I was staying, I was forced to move, and I couldn't move the car at the time because it was broken down at the time.
So where did you leave it?
In front of my friend's house.
How long did you leave it there?
Like maybe a week before it got towed because I had to get it fixed, and I was fixing it, and then I'm trying to
Well, you
work.
could have pushed it into somebody's driveway or something.
I didn't
right?
have no driveway to put it in.
Did you call your mom and say to her, listen, can I leave the car in your driveway?
Well, I didn't think to ask her that, and
You didn't
then I would have
think?
had to have it towed over there or something. I didn't have the money for that either.
So you think it's her fault that she didn't lend you more money?
Yeah, so I couldn't get the car. If I don't have a car, why should I give her the money for it?
Let me ask you this question, Jason. How old are you?
22.
Did you go to high school?
Yeah.
Did you finish?
No.
That was a big mistake.
Yeah, I know.
Now, you look like a pretty stout kind of guy. Do you ever eat at a restaurant?
Yeah.
Go in, you order dinner, finish the dinner, they bring you the bill.
Yeah.
You look at the bill and you say, why do I have to pay this? There's nothing on my plate anymore. It's all gone. What do you mean? I want you to make believe that your mother is a bank. And instead of borrowing this money from your mother, you borrowed it from a bank. Same scenario. You're doing road work on the car in the public street where you're not allowed to do it. You leave the car on the street. Somebody gives you a free pass for a while, but after a week they tow your car. You don't have money to get out. You call the bank. Say, listen, I owe you money on a car loan, but unless you loan me more money so I can get my car out of tow, I'm not going to pay you any more money. Hello? Is this a crank call? Do you understand what I'm saying to you?
Yeah.
Does that sound foolish to you, Jason?
Yeah, it does.
So let's not sound foolish. I mean, the first foolish thing that you did was not graduate from high school, because then you would have had money, maybe, to fix your car. Now let's get to the other problem that you had. I'll hear you again, Mrs. Shapiro.
He was accused of stealing at work.
Stealing cash?
Stealing cash.
What kind of place were you working at the time, Jason?
It was like a diner, maybe.
It was a sandwich shop.
And what were you doing?
I was cooking.
And you were accused of stealing?
Yeah.
Out of the cash register?
I don't know. They never told me where it was from. They just told me money was missing, and they feel that I was doing it.
Okay. So he called you?
Correct.
What did he say when he called you?
That he was accused of stealing and that they were going to press charges and put him in jail unless he came up with the money.
And you said what?
I said, let's go meet with her.
With whom?
With his boss.
Fine. So you sat down with his boss?
With his boss in her office.
Go ahead.
And at that time, she basically told me exactly what had happened,
Well,
the
tell me-
amount of money that was taken.
When she sat at the meeting with you and your son and accused him of taking this money, what did he say?
He had admitted to doing it. And she was willing
How much
to
money are we
not-
talking about?
$2,715.
I didn't say nothing like that.
What did you say?
I told them that I wasn't admitting nothing.
No, don't look down. Look over here.
I wasn't going to pay them. I was going to go try and get an attorney, try and fight them and everything. I wasn't taking the rap. I didn't see no proof I did it. I didn't see nothing.
Now, just a second. We're not talking about proof. Listen to me very carefully, Jason. You got...
Yep.
Your mother says that at the meeting with your boss, you admitted taking the money. But if you say to me, I told them that I wasn't taking the rap for this because I didn't do it, then you're telling me, in effect, that your mother is a liar. Is that what you want to tell me?
That's what I said.
What did you say?
I said that...
No,
I didn't
don't
say
look
that.
down. Look over here.
I said I didn't say that.
You said you didn't say what?
I didn't say that I took the money.
What did you say?
I said that I was going to try and fight it.
With what?
However I could.
Is that what you told your mother?
Yeah.
Tell me exactly what you told your mother.
I didn't tell my mom really anything. I just said I wasn't going to... I didn't want to pay it. I didn't want to give them this money. I didn't want her to give them the money. I didn't want nothing. I just wanted to go try and get a lawyer or whatever and try and fight
So
this
then
out.
why in the world, Jason, did you call your mother and arrange to go to a meeting with her? And why did you go to the meeting with her? You were been told that you were accused of stealing. So there was no possible reason for you to call your mother or go to the meeting if what your intention was to say, fine, arrest me, I'm going to get a lawyer, and I'm going to fight these charges. You want to explain that to me?
Just figured she knew more than I did about this type of stuff, and she might be
What
able to
type
give me
of
some
stuff?
kind of advice. What they were
Hold on
telling
there
me.
just a second. I can understand, Jason, you calling your mother at home and saying, Mom, I want to come over and talk to you. This is what they're accusing me of, and I didn't do it. I want to get a lawyer, and I want to fight it. What I don't understand, Jason, is why you called your mother and then went to a meeting with your boss, with your mother.
I just had her come with me.
Why? Why would you go at all? You knew what you were being accused of.
I don't know. I just went.
3 out of 4 ain't bad. Just say to your mother when she wrote out the check or paid them the money.
Nothing. I didn't actually see that happen.
Well, you knew she did it, right?
Yeah, I didn't say nothing to her, though.
You didn't say anything?
No, I was...
Like, thanks, Mom, for bailing me out, or I don't want you to pay this money because I didn't do this. I'd rather we spend the money on a lawyer so I can have a clear name. Didn't say that?
No.
Did you make an arrangement with your mother to pay her back out of your paychecks?
No, I never set that up.
Who did?
I guess the lady that I was working for did.
And how many days did you work after your mother gave him the money?
I don't know, maybe 3 or 4.
Why did you leave?
Because they were harassing me.
Who was
at the
harassing
job.
you?
The bosses. They were talking about me in front of me, and I wasn't feeling comfortable about that, so I quit.
And where did you go to work?
I went to another job. I got a job at Dairy Queen.
For how long?
About a month.
And where'd you go after that?
That was just a couple weeks ago. I haven't had a job yet since then.
The maximum limit in the small claims court in your jurisdiction is $3,000. Is that why you sued for $3,000? That's what you owe your mother. Who are you living with?
My friend.
What does your friend do for a living?
He works in, like, he makes the glass for the slot machines in the casinos.
Do you know that you sound to me like you're lost? Seriously. You sound to me as if you're lost, and unless you get control of your life, sir, it's going to be over before you know it. You can't be an irresponsible baby forever. Comes a time when you have to grow up and take responsibility for what you do and not make everybody else's life miserable. Your mother doesn't owe you anything anymore. Now you're on your own. Leave her alone. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $3,000. That's all.
Matthew Terry claims ex-wife Kelly Terry owes for injuries he received during an argument in her home. Kelly is countersuing for harassment and for making false charges to Child Protective Services.
Mr. Terry, the defendant is your former wife.
Yes.
You have 5 children.
Yes.
When were you divorced?
Finally in July of 2005.
And I assume you were divorced because you decided that you couldn't make a, right?
Yes.
Fair statement?
Yes.
So after your divorce, you did the most ludicrous thing that I ever heard of. You moved into her house, rented a room, according to you, so that you could be close to your children. Is that right?
It's to help out with the children. There's 5 of them, and they're pretty overbearing sometimes.
Well, that's a great idea, but if you're going to live with her, might as well be married to her. Living there under these circumstances is really ridiculous. In any event, to show you just how ridiculous, you claim that your former wife assaulted you.
Yes.
At a time when you were in fact living in the house, and you want her to pay for your medical bills, want her to compensate you for your injuries. Your former wife says you started the argument. She just finished it. And since that time, you've embarked on a campaign of harassment, and she is counterclaiming. Tell me when this incident happened, Mr. Terry.
Happened February 26th of this year.
And according to what I read in your complaint, you were in the house watching TV with some of the kids.
Yes.
What were you watching?
I believe we were watching NHRA on ESPN.
You were watching?
NHRA, it's automobile racing.
And how many of the children were you watching auto racing with?
I believe all 5 of them were watching, and 2 of the oldest ones had left the room at this instant.
How old are the children?
They range from 7 to 16.
So the 16-year-old left.
Yes.
One below that is how old?
14.
That one left. So 3 little ones.
Out of the room, yes.
Little ones are there. Tell me what happened.
We were sitting there watching TV. She came out of her room, which is adjoining the living room, and started swearing and was upset about something, and went to the fireplace, sat down, and was smoking a cigarette. At the whole time, she was sort of cussing me out and saying how negative things were with me.
Why were you angry with him?
I had asked him to help do things around the house and to help with the kids instead of sitting there watching TV.
That's what you do to a husband, not to a tenant.
Well, he gets a big discount in rent because of his help.
But he was a tenant.
Correct.
If you wanted to boss him around, you should have stayed married to him. Okay, so you were angry because you would ask him to do some chores, help with the kids, and he was sitting around watching TV.
Yes.
Acting like a husband.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Rather than as an almost employee, because if you say that he gets a big discount in his rent, then you're giving up a certain amount of rent in order to get work out of him.
Correct.
So you weren't getting work out of him.
Right.
Recipe for disaster. So you were angry and annoyed and letting him know it.
Yes.
What happened next, Mr. Terry?
She kept raving on and badgering me with her voices.
Mr. Terry, were you ignoring her?
I responded to some of the things.
How did you respond?
Just with my mouth.
In front of your children?
Yes, nothing negative came out of my mouth.
If there was nothing negative that came out of your mouth and she's cursing at you, why don't you tell me what you said to her?
I don't remember. I was concentrating on the program.
Well, try to remember, Mr. Terry. I'm curious what you were talking about in front of your
I don't see what the problem is this evening. I'm with the 3 children. They're with me, or all 5 were with me, so it's not like I'm not watching them like she wanted to. And she just kept bickering.
So go ahead. Let me hear.
And she finished her cigarette, got up, charged me, swung at my face, hit me in the shoulder. I have a previous injury, and it's like a tender spot in my shoulder.
You were still sitting on the couch?
Yeah, I was sitting on the front part of the couch, like leaning forward with my hands crossed, just watching the show. And I didn't think she was going to charge me like that. And she came up around the table, took a swung at my face. I went back. She hit me in the shoulder. I fell back, and my feet went up, and I broke the table in front of me.
Go ahead.
And then I sat back up from falling back into the couch, and I looked at the glass on the floor, and she went off saying that I was breaking things and that I did that on purpose. And I said, no, I fell back when you hit my shoulder. And she was really steamed then. And I picked up a big piece of glass, probably 4 foot by 4 foot, over her head, threw it down, my finger, and it hit me in the arch of my foot, cutting it. And then I got up, and she was throwing things at me continuously, and I told her I was going to call the sheriffs, and she said, no, I will do that. I got up to go to the phone, and she was already there, so I just left and went out and sat on the stairs.
Were you treated that night?
No.
The next day?
Yes. I woke up it was painful in my foot, but I thought it might subside over the night, so I went down to my room. After the sheriffs came, they took a statement from both of us, gave her a ticket for battery, and she told the sheriffs that she didn't mean to throw it at my foot. She was trying to aim for the ground. And I was outside the whole time, and the sheriffs...
could you do me a favor and answer my question? Were you treated the next day?
I was treated the next day, yes.
Where?
At San Bernardino Medical Center.
Can I see the papers, please?
Do you want to see the police report?
Yes.
There's the police report, the hospital report, off-work notice.
Thank you. Okay, Ms. Terry, I'd like you to tell me your version of the events of the 26th of February.
Okay. He was sitting on the couch, and I think just the one youngest child was there. I think the oldest two, who are actually 15 and 17, were gone because they're usually never at home. And he was sitting on the couch watching TV, and I went and stood in front of the TV and asked him if he would help me do some things around the house. This was in February, 8 months ago, so I don't remember what I needed him to do. However, when I stood in front of the TV, he told me to move my fat because he couldn't see the TV. And the TV is big. It's like a 52-inch TV. And so when he said that, I was furious. So I walked up to him, and as he's sitting in the corner of the couch, and I did put my hand on his shoulder and said to him, "Get out. We're done. We're not doing this anymore. Get out. And if you don't leave right now, I'm going to call the police." And that's when he kicked the table. And then when he did that, I was furious because my dad gave me that coffee table. It's very expensive. And I did not punch him. I did not hurt him in any way. I picked up the glass because it didn't really like shatter. It shattered but still stayed together. And I picked it up and I showed it to him and I said, "Look what you did to my table." And I threw it down on the wood right where it was. And again, it broke in like big pieces, you know, but not like shattering, like where there was like sharp edges because it's tempered or something like that. And he immediately got up and I walked over to the phone to call the police.
In February of 2006, was he paying rent to you?
Yes, he was.
And he had paid February's rent?
I believe so.
You can't throw him out.
Right.
And who are you to throw him out?
But he was damaging my property.
No. Listen to me, Miss Terry. You can't do what you did, madam. What you did was 100% wrong. What you did was confuse your circumstance. I mean, you two people elected to have this bizarre arrangement where he rented an apartment room, I don't know what it was, and there was an understanding that he would help out with the children, help out with this, help out with that, but he's not your slave. You can't stand in front of the television set and expect no reaction. That's what wives do, stand in front of the act and say, "Listen, I asked you to do this and I asked you to do that, and you didn't do it." So he responded to you. You didn't like it. Sticks and stones will break my bones. Names will never hurt me. You can't put your hands on him. Period. How many days were you out of work, Mr. Terry?
The following day was a Monday. I went to the doctor's. I left work at half day, noon. I was there by 2.
What kind of work do you do?
I'm a soils engineer, foundation engineer, inspector.
So how many days' work did you miss?
4 days plus a Saturday. I was taken off work for 3 days, and my employer told me if since I was off
Don't tell me what
Tuesday,
your
Wednesday, and Thursday.
Listen, you're
that
trying
they
to
had
talk
no work.
over me, Mr. Terry. That won't do.
I was taken off work from the doctor Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday.
That's all. So Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, 3 days.
Yes.
And how much do you earn a day?
$300 a day.
Are you not living in the house now?
No.
How much child support do you pay for your 5 children?
$2,000 a month.
You up to date?
Yes.
Great. When did you move out, sir?
July.
You lived there from February till July?
The following week, I found a new place to live, and it wasn't ready until then.
That is not true.
Just a second. So what you're telling me, Mr. Terry, is you lived there March, April, May, and June, 4 months?
I had the recreational vehicle, and I was gone a lot of the time.
Did you pay rent for those 4 months?
Yes.
Okay. I'm confused, Mr. Terry. If this happened February of 2006 and you decided not to pursue the protective order, even though she was given a ticket, why didn't you move out of the house immediately?
Like I said.
Why did you permit him to stay in the house for 4 months instead of evicting him?
You know, it's...
No. Are those legitimate questions?
Yes, they are.
You could have evicted him. So month-to-month tenant, did he have a lease? No. So he's a month-to-month tenant. So now my question to you, Mr. Terry, is why did you file this case in September or October of 2006, some 8 months later?
Mainly my whole reason for living is to take care of the children, and I work 60 to 70 hours a week. And
why didn't
now
you file
I have
this
time.
case?
Now
Well, that's
I have
too
time.
bad. That's too bad, Mr. Terry. Quite frankly, I was very sympathetic with your position. I don't think that your former wife had the right to put her hands on you to cause this injury. And if you had decided to move out in March, 4 days later, you paid up for February, said, "I'm not going to live under these circumstances anymore because it's too violent," I would have heard your case, and I would have said, "You're absolutely right, sir. She has to compensate you out of work." But this is an afterthought. And I don't know why the afterthought right now, Mr. Terry. You want to explain that to me? There has to be a reason for this afterthought.
I didn't want to create any more negativity in the home.
Well, you did by staying there for 4 months, sir.
I think it was more of a positive thing for the children and to take care of the children. That's my main thing.
Just a second. For the last 4 months, is that right?
Yes.
So why would you sue your former wife now?
I'm out of the house, and it would not
You don't
create
think that
any any negativity right now.
Oh, really? You think not?
Yes.
You think that the fact that you have children who are certainly of an age of understanding know that their father is suing their mother in court for thousands of dollars wouldn't create negativity?
She sued me in court for divorce.
That's different, sir.
It was more of a financial thing with her.
That's different, sir.
And I did not tell the children there was any litigation going on.
You may not. Don't you think that your litigation against their mother at this point creates stress? I mean, you're suing her for $5,000.
Yes.
And if you're suing her for $5,000, I'm sure that in your financial circumstance, the fact that she rented a room to you indicates that you're not exactly flush with dough. So $5,000 is a lot of money to her. I still don't understand the rationale for 8 months after the event.
I can explain that to you.
Well, I'd like to hear it.
The reason that he filed now is because that's part of my counterclaim for harassment. Because the reason he moved out is because I have a boyfriend. And in the year and a half, we have been divorced. I have never seen anybody else. We have, but not like inside the home or anything, or brought them around the children. And Matt just went berserk when I had somebody come over to the house and meet the kids and stay there. Not stay there, but just interact with the kids, because it's never happened before. And on August 2nd of this year, I have a police report where he came home and my new friend John was there, and Matt just flipped out, just started going crazy. He threatened to throw John off the deck. He threatened all of these things. And so I immediately called the police, and the police stood there while Matt moved out.
Mr. Terry, you have a problem with your wife having a new male friend?
No, not at all.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Matthew Terry says ex-wife Kelly Terry purposely cut him with broken glass during an argument in their home.
So you want to tell me your version of what happened on the 2nd?
Yeah, I came home from work and she called me maybe 20 times on my cell phone while I was at work in meetings, such things. And when I got home, I told her, you can't call me like 20 times a day. I was in meetings and she said, you better respond to me. And so I went downstairs and she chased me all over the house, just badgering me the whole time. I went to make a phone call to the sheriff's and she kept pulling the wire out of the house.
Was her boyfriend there?
No.
So the boyfriend wasn't there?
No.
This had nothing to do with the boyfriend?
No, he wasn't there.
So he wasn't there when the altercation took place? Well, it's interesting because she called the police, and the call that she made to the police says, called the RP and told her that if he ever sees her with her new boyfriend, that he's going to kill him, and also told her that he's going to steal her boat. RP would like an emergency restraining order against the subject. Why?
I don't know anything about that.
You don't?
No.
Okay.
There was no restraining order.
He lived in the house up until that date. And the police were there as he was packing his stuff and leaving, and he did make a comment to John. We were outside, you know, I just wanted him to just go. And he walked by the sliding glass door and said in front of the police, I hope you're clean because I'm calling Child Protective Services to John. I hope your record's clean. And after that, and that's where the counterclaim comes in. This is the second time in my life I've ever been to court. The only other time was divorce court. And the judge commended us on having the most friendly divorce that he had ever seen. And we've been friends, great friends. We're just not good married.
You weren't good living in the same place either.
We were for a long time. A long time we were, until I decided to move on with my life. And that's the problem that he had, is that I guess because I married him, I'm never entitled to be happy. I don't love him like that, you know. He lives in an RV. He parks it in front of my driveway, in the street, in a cul-de-sac. He'll leave it there for 3 days. He'll start fights with the neighbors, and all of this has been since August of this year.
Why, Mr. Terry?
The last time I brought the RV up, she told me to bring it and bring the kids to the dental appointments, and also Kenny, my 8-year-old, has a heart condition. He has to go to echocardiogram. So I brought the vehicle up. She knew that's the only vehicle I drive. I parked it in her driveway.
Yeah.
Plugged into her electricity.
Right. But she said you left it there 3 days.
I was there for 3 days with it.
Did she ask you to move it?
On the third day, after I asked her what was happening with Kenny, Kenny told me that a friend of hers had choked him and thrown him down. And once I brought that up to her attention, it put her off, and she called the sheriff's.
That's not true. I have 2 teenage kids that go to high school, and so my house usually has about 9 or 10 high school kids in it.
Listen, you don't have to hear it.
Yeah.
She wants you to leave her alone. Where do you usually keep your RV?
I live in resorts.
Keep it there. Just keep it out of her driveway.
Yes.
All right, Ms. Terry, I'm not entertaining your counterclaim for harassment right now or ever. I think that things have happened, and he's just got to get over the fact that you're moving on. Moving up, moving on, moving out. You're absolutely entitled to do that. Hopefully, and I want you to pray every night that he meets a nice young lady, because that's the way that he's going to move on. He's going to move on. He's going to take you off his plate and put somebody else on his plate. Go looking for somebody. Go to Match.com. Go someplace. Go someplace, Mr. Terry. You'll find somebody who
I'm not
absolutely
after her
adores
at
you.
all.
Good.
My whole thing since the divorce was to take care of the children. That's my main thing.
Listen to me.
I raised them.
Listen to me. My sense is that you both are trying to be reasonable parents.
Yes.
You're just frustrating your children in the process. And if you have occasional spats, that's unfortunate, but it's not unexpected. You're going to have occasional spats. If you didn't fight, then you would still be living together. But, Mr. Terry, there is no way that I'm awarding you $5,000 and taking that out of the mouths of your children. That's just not going to happen. You are, however, entitled to reimbursement for the 3 days that you were out of work as a result of your former wife's actions. That's $900. Did you have any unreimbursed medical bills?
Yes.
What were the unreimbursed medical bills? Unreimbursed.
I have to pay back the insurance company, Pfizer
What insurance
Health,
company?
Pfizer Health, Benesite, for anything that I recover that they paid for out in medical bills.
Listen to me. If what you're telling me is that your insurance covered the medical bills,
Yes.
that's what you're supposed to tell me.
Yes, they cover $300. I have a $200 deductible, and I have to reimburse them for any.
I understood what you just said to me, sir. And I think that you're a very smart man, a little passive-aggressive, but a smart man. So is what you're telling me that you had to pay $200 because that's your deductible. Let me see the check for $200.
I don't have a check.
Well, did you pay it?
I paid $110 of it.
Show
I owe
me.
$94. I
Show
don't
me.
have it.
Well, that's too bad. So your wife owes you $900. That's your wages for the 3 days you were out of work. Mr. Terry, put your hand down. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $900. That's all.
Lucky Feinstein says during a night of drinking, he was assaulted by bar doorman Eric Galan. Eric and his co-worker Justin Murphy claim Lucky was out of control drunk.
Mr. Feinstein, it is your complaint that you were assaulted and your car vandalized while you were at the defendant's bar.
Yes, Your Honor.
And the defendant, although I don't think you were there, is that
No,
right?
I wasn't there.
She says through her employees, I'm sure she has witnesses here, are going to tell me that you were very drunk.
Yes, ma'am.
And, well, I gather you acknowledge that you were very drunk, and any
I did.
injuries that you sustained were sustained as a result of you flailing around and hurting yourself, and they don't know anything that happened to your car. So, what's the name of your bar, pub?
Scotland Yard Pub.
Which of your employees was there that evening?
Justin and Eric.
Stand up, please. And you don't know anything about this of your own personal knowledge?
No, I wasn't there.
You can have a seat. Justin
Yes,
and Eric,
that's correct.
what is your given first name?
Lucky.
That's what your parents named you?
Yes, ma'am.
Interesting. Are you an only child?
No, there's 3 other siblings.
Are you the first, second, third, or the fourth?
I'm the 4th.
You're the last one.
Lucky to be here.
Got it. This incident happened at the pub.
The 22nd of what?
First, we got to get the date. The questions get harder, Lucky.
7/22, I believe it was.
Had you been to this pub before?
Only a couple times before this.
Immediately prior to the 22nd of July, when had you been to the pub?
Maybe a week before that.
So sometime the 15th, 16th.
Yeah.
Prior to that, when had you been to the club?
Maybe a month previous to that one.
Never had any trouble there?
Never, no.
You have a drinking problem?
No, not necessarily. Yeah, I like to drink, but I don't consider myself having a problem with it, no.
Well, according to you, Lucky, on the 22nd of July of 2005, you were drunk.
Yes, ma'am.
If I had to place a wager, I would say you have at least a minor problem with alcohol.
I would agree with that, yes.
Who do you live with?
I live with my parents.
They still think they're lucky?
I help them. I think that they do, yes, because I help them out.
So tell me what happened on the 22nd, Lucky.
Okay, in the afternoon, I was at my friend's restaurant, which is a couple doors down from theirs.
What were you doing there?
I was eating pizza. They have a pizza place. I've been going there for the past 25 years. And I decided to go next door, and I was advised to never ever go into that place because I would end up in trouble there, because there's always trouble over there. I went over there and ended up there a lot longer than I anticipated. I had way more drinks than I, wanted to have, but I was having a good time, so I kept on
How were you having a good time?
Well, I was shooting pool, and I was talking to people, and I was buying several people drinks. Then approximately 10 o'clock, 10:30 at night, I made the
What
mistake.
time did you arrive there?
Oh, maybe 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and I had maybe 12 beers there or something like that. I was out of control, I admit that, but I didn't cause any problems. I wasn't obnoxious.
When you say you were out of control, Lucky,
Well, drinking
tell
wise,
me what
drinking
you mean.
Wise, drinking wise, I overdid it drinking wise, and I knew that I was drunk and I wasn't about to drive out of there to leave, you know. I was going to call a taxi, and I went into the bathroom. That was the mistake I made because the bouncer was in there. No words were exchanged. I looked at him, and the next thing I know, I was out unconscious. And then I found myself in the parking lot, left for dead. When I came to, first thing I saw was him again.
Which one?
This guy here in the black shirt.
That would be Eric.
I asked him for help, realizing that my wallet was missing, and if I could go back in the bathroom to see if my wallet was in there. He said, "No, you're drunk. Get out of here." And then he said the police are coming too. So I said, well, okay, well, I would like to wait for the police and talk to them. The police came, and they just told me that I need to go home too. Call a taxi, do whatever, go home.
You have a police report?
Yes, I do. Yes,
I'd
ma'am.
like to see it. Go ahead.
I went over to my truck, my tailgate, and sat there. A couple women came over and were sitting next to me, assuring me everything's going to be okay. A couple minutes go by, and the police come back again, which I was not causing any more problems, that's for sure.
Well, somebody called them.
They were called again.
But they weren't called by you.
No, ma'am.
So they were called by somebody about your behavior.
But I wasn't doing anything.
That's not my question. I said they were called by somebody about your behavior.
They were called a second time.
Oh, okay. Well, this isn't the police report about their call. This is a police report that you made that said that somebody punched you in the mouth and took your property. There has to be a police report of when they responded to their calls. You did call the police, didn't you?
I called the first time.
Who called the second time?
One of the customers that was out in the parking lot.
You have a copy of that police report?
No, we do not.
Okay. So go ahead.
Okay, so then the police came for the second time, and they said, we're going to take you home. We're going to give you a taxi ride home. And they're very embarrassing to me to be put in handcuffs like I'm being arrested. At that point, I realized that I needed to go to the hospital. My face was puffing up, my back of my head, I was dizzy. So they said, would you like an ambulance? I said, yes, I would very much like an ambulance. I went to the hospital, they sewed my lip up, and then I walked back towards my vehicle, which is several miles away from there. And it was about 2:30 in the morning at that time. I realized that my truck was vandalized. My windshield was busted, my car was keyed around the sides of my car, my tailpipes were kicked down to the ground, and at that point, I realized that I better not say anything to them. And so there was a taxi out in the parking lot, and I was taken home. The very next morning, I went back there, and I talked to the owner, Patrick Sirely, and asked him if he would mind paying my hospital bill because I was beaten up in his establishment.
But you don't know who beat you up.
I'm not clear on that, but all I know is I saw him, and then I was out cold. And then I found myself in the parking lot coming to, and then I saw him again, at my feet, basically. Or I was at his feet.
So who's going to start?
I'll start.
Okay, take your hands out of your pockets and start.
When I got to work that night at 7, he came up to order another beer about a half hour into my shift, and I noticed that he was intoxicated, so I refused to serve him, and he went haywire and slammed his fist down on the bar.
Put your hand down, sir.
Called me a name that I don't think I can say. He started ripping up $100 bills in front of everyone from his wallet. Nobody laid a finger on him inside the bar. I didn't want to get into a physical altercation with him, so I waited till our doorman got on at 9. Finally, when he was put outside of the bar, he kept charging Eric, trying to bust his way back in. I went out to see what was going on. He threatened to get a gun from his truck and kill me and Eric and everybody else in the parking lot. Began kicking his own truck, pounding his head into his own truck, and punching into his own truck and other people's cars in the parking lot. At one point, he knelt down in front of Eric, took off his shirt, and said, just kill me right now, just kill me right now. And that's what it seemed like it was going to get to a point where I needed to call the police because people were very angry that he was...
Is that when you called the police the first time?
Yes.
Okay, Eric. You got on about 9 o'clock?
Yeah, about 9 o'clock, and it wasn't too long until Justin called me over. And I tell Lucky that he was done for the evening, he needed to go someplace else. He asked why. He said I told him that, you were giving a problem to our bartender. Come back some other night, I'll buy you a beer, and, that'll be the end of it. He got upset and irate, said that he had a gun in his truck, and he was going to start shooting the place up. One of the customers I was sitting outside got upset by that. They started having a yelling match. I got involved. I separated the two, and he continued to threaten people that were around. He said, I was going to come back and get you, shoot you, shoot you. And that's when he tried to bully his way through me. And as soon as he touched me, I just put him to the ground and held him down.
When you say you put him to the ground, how did you put him to the ground, Eric?
Tripped his leg and put him on his back, one hand on his chest, one hand holding his arm. I said he needed to calm down. As soon as I let go of his arm, he swung on me. And I just knocked it out of the way and held him down again. And Justin was outside and said, do I need to call the cops? I said, yes, please call the police officers. I got off of Lucky, went inside to make sure the cops were coming. Came back outside like after a minute or two, and Lucky was already laid up against the wall at the pizzeria. Now, I didn't talk to Lucky at all in the bathroom. I don't know where that came from. So after he was laid out, he woke up like a couple minutes later, and he asked me who knocked him out. I had no idea who did it. And then he started accusing me that I stole his wallet.
Did you find his wallet in the
No.
pub? Did you find your wallet
No,
subsequently?
no, Your Honor, I didn't.
The police officers came. They spoke with him. They spoke with me. They said they needed to take another call, but he was going to leave the area. He was walking down the alley. As soon as the cops were out of sight, he came back and continued to talk to some other person who wasn't even there that night.
Where were you when you observed this?
Standing at the door.
You remember any of that, sir?
No, ma'am. I never left that parking lot. I was waiting for the police to come because I wanted
The police
to talk.
came already, sir. They came and they left.
Right, and then they came back a second time.
Right. My question is, why did they have to come back a second time? Why didn't you just leave?
Because I was very drunk. I wasn't about to go anywhere, and I was sitting on my tailgate wondering, what am I going to do now?
Listen to me very carefully, sir. When you're very drunk, it's very, very difficult for a court to make a judgment as to the veracity, the truthfulness of what you testify to, and to give any credence to what you testify to. You are asking me to believe you above two people who were working that evening, sober that evening, have a clear recollection, at least according to them, of what transpired that evening, as opposed to believing you who was so drunk they didn't know on which pole they were at.
Ma'am, I'm saying that they're lying about this whole thing, that he's saying that he didn't give me any more drinks after 7 o'clock at night. I was in there drinking heavily. I was having beer after beer, and they gave me way, way too many beers, in my opinion. I don't think that
How
that's
old
right.
are you?
I'm 41.
So is this what your complaint is, sir, that the bar overserved you?
Yes, ma'am, one thing. But I don't think that that should
Eric,
happen.
we started this case by my saying to you, do you have a drinking problem? And you said to me, I don't think so. Maybe a little. That's like being a little bit pregnant. You never have a little bit of a drinking problem, Lucky. Now, if you were 18 years old, I would say, I'm going to nail them, because a bar should know that a kid comes in and you don't serve a kid more alcohol than they can consume. When you're 41 years old, you're supposed to know how much alcohol you can consume and still have your wits about you. And according to you, you were warned, don't go in there. There's always trouble in that bar. But when you were at this place twice before, according to you, you had no trouble. So they clear for any reason.
I believe that they do have it in for me.
Explain that to me.
Because mainly there's just Mexicans in there, and they always call me white boy.
Lucky. Did they call you white boy on the 15th of July?
No.
Did they call you white boy the month before that when you went in there?
No.
You didn't change composition from July 15th to July 22nd, did you? You were drunk. Stop blaming the rest of the world. You were drunk. Either you fell, you got beaten up, you don't know who did it, your car got trashed, you don't know who did that. You have to accept responsibility for your own behavior. If you drank too much, it's your fault. Nobody got you down there with a funnel and filled your stomach full of beer. Nobody. You managed to do that all by yourself. If you had gotten into your car and killed somebody on the way home, I would take every piece of property that this lady had.
Which someday will happen.
Just a second. I would take every piece of property that this lady had, because under those circumstances, both of you would be responsible. I'd take every bit of property you had, and I'd take every bit of property she had, because somebody who was innocent got killed. The only one that got hurt that night was you. And you caused that yourself. So Deal with it. Your case is dismissed. That's all.
Tanya Blishak is suing her former co-worker, Julianne Rouse, for startup money to sell Mary Kay Cosmetics.
Miss Blishak, according to what I've read in your complaint, you and the defendant worked together in a hair salon period of time, and in addition to your regular work, you were making some money on the side selling Mary Kay Cosmetics. You tried to get Miss Rouse to become a representative for Mary Kay and claimed that you sold her a quantity of product. You put it on your credit card because she asked you to, with the understanding that she would pay the credit card bill. She paid some, but not all, and you want the balance. Ms. Rouse says that you sort of pressured her into becoming a representative. She paid you back a total so far of $1,400 for the product that was purchased, according to her, without her consent. She stopped selling the product. She still has 6 boxes of it at home that you're welcome to have because she says she's paid enough.
Yes.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I sold it for about a month.
That's a fib that you just told me, because you told me a moment ago that after a month, so that means that you were at least selling the product for 2 months.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Tanya Blishak says former co-worker Julianne Rouse owes for a loan to buy Mary Kay Cosmetics. Julianne says the makeup was forced on her.
When did you start to sell Mary Kay Cosmetics?
September of 2001.
And what percentage do you get of what, for instance, Miss Rouse would purchase from Mary Kay?
At the time, I did get 13% on her order, but I would like to state...
Go ahead.
Okay. Oh, I just want to say that I explained to her completely and full detail that she does not have to order any inventory whatsoever. It is for her benefit to have inventory if she wants it, so that she can give it to her customers when they buy it from her. That's completely her option. She doesn't have to do it, and she chose to do one of the big ones.
When did she purchase this product?
In April of '04.
And how much did she purchase?
She purchased a $2,400 order.
Now, tell me under what circumstances you financed her order of $2,400.
It was with my credit card.
Why?
She had been a customer as well before, and I had no problems with her financially. She paid her orders. There was no problems. And she wanted to get started with a business. She said she didn't have a credit card and you can't pay cash. And she wanted to do it, and I told her that I would help her out. She was going to pay me back the next month, and we were going to be done with this.
From where was she supposed to get $2,400?
I don't know.
Who do you live with?
My husband.
Have any children?
Yes.
How many?
1.
How old?
7 months.
And you were working full-time?
No, ma'am.
Part-time?
Yes, ma'am.
Why?
I wasn't working for a while. I was going to school, and then I went back to work part-time at the salon. And at that time, my fiance at the time were living with roommates. We didn't have our own place.
So when you purchased this stuff, Miss Rouse, it was your intention to make this a part-time job?
Well, I was working part-time at the salon, and then I left there right about the same time this all happened to work full-time at a travel agency.
So was it your intention to work part-time selling Mary Kay Cosmetics?
At that time, yes.
Who selected the product that was purchased?
Miss Blishak did.
Without your input?
I didn't input. She did it online, and she ordered the things that she thought I needed at the time. And then about 5 weeks later, I needed different products, so I had to place another order on my own to get the products that I needed for my clients.
So you were, in fact, working?
For a little bit, yes.
So why didn't you finish paying her for the product?
And in the beginning, I did not want to sell the Mary Kay. She kept asking me to join. I thought if I joined it, it would be over and done with after the $115. So then after this, I decided that I would try it out.
Well, that's what she's talking about.
And she told me when she did this that I would be able to pay her back in a month because you would make so much money selling these products within the first month, as she did. At the time, I couldn't do that. I was working full-time.
Well, that happened later. Miss Rouse.
Within the same week,
Miss
it happened,
Rouse,
ma'am.
listen to me.
Yes, ma'am.
There's something about buyer's remorse, which means that at the time you thought it was a good idea, and all of a sudden it didn't look so good after it was done, as opposed to someone who fraudulently sells you something. I'm not getting the sense that Miss Blishak sold you anything fraudulently, especially since you ordered more product a month later. And you paid her $1,400. She paid you $1,400? When did you stop paying her?
August was the last payment I gave her.
And you were paying her prior to that time because you were selling product?
I sold it for about a month.
Or more? Because that's a fib that you just told me, Miss Rouse. because you told me a moment ago that after a month you ordered more product to sell to your customer. So that means that you were at least selling the product for 2 months.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Sounds to me, Ms. Rouse, as a case of you didn't plan on getting pregnant, you planned on working full-time, you planned on selling this part-time. It all didn't work out because you left a part-time job, went to a full-time job, then you got pregnant, then you stopped working. Are you working now?
Yes, ma'am.
Good. You better start selling some Mary Kay cosmetics because you owe her some money. How much does she owe you with interest on your credit card?
$1848.02.
Can I see that, please? Why does she owe you $1848? What kind of interest they charge you on your credit card?
It was 12.9.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
Okay, good. You have 6 boxes of product left?
Yes, ma'am. I have a list of everything I have.
Good. You better start selling it, Miss Rouse. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,848. That's all.
Parties are excused and they step out.
Tyrone Smith claims ex-girlfriend Christy Bruffett lied to him about the paternity of her child. Christy is countersuing, claiming Tyrone has been harassing her.
Mr. Smith, it is your claim that the defendant defrauded you and leading you to believe that you were the father of her child. You want attorney's fees and all kinds of compensatory damages. Ms. Bruffett says that you knew all along that you were not the baby's biological father, and she is counterclaiming for harassment and other stuff. I assume that there was a time that 2 of you were in a relationship.
Yes.
And when was that?
2001.
Are you asking me? I wasn't there.
No, it was in 2001.
And when was your daughter born?
My daughter was born January 7th, 2001.
Were you together at the time?
Yes.
Yes, we were.
I'm going to go to you. Your answer suggests that Mr. Smith was aware all along that he was not the child's biological father. I'm going to hear your explanation with regard to that.
Yes, he was, Your Honor. We had started dating briefly when we were working together in December.
December of 2000?
Of 99.
December of 99.
Yes. He had left Minneapolis and went to Chicago for what he said would be a brief period of time when we first started dating, in turn being quite a few months.
How many months?
He left towards the end of January of 2000. He did not return until close to the end of April of 2000.
Is that right?
No. Ain't no way Chrissy told me that that little girl was mine, and I signed.
Whether you went to Minneapolis.
No. I was working in Minnesota, so ain't no way I left.
Okay, keep going, Miss Bruffett.
My child was conceived at the very beginning of April by Matthew Moore. When he returned, it was the end of April. He had known of me and Matthew's relationship, but was
Don't
persistent.
tell me what he knew. Tell me what you said to him.
I had told him that I was in a relationship when he had came back from Chicago. Matthew, in turn, towards the end of May, had left and decided he was moving to Florida, and me and Tyrone had started dating again then. But he knew I told him that I was pregnant before he had came back from Chicago in a phone conversation.
Is that right, sir?
No, ma'am.
Doesn't sound right to me.
No, ma'am.
Keep going.
Okay. Up through the pregnancy, we were together, we were dating, all the way up and through my daughter was born. When my daughter was born, he had told me that throughout the whole time that he wanted to be a father to her. He would be that figure because Matthew was not going to return from Florida. Tyrone had told me that he wanted to be the one to step up to the plate. He would take care of her. We would be together. We had plans on being engaged or being married in the future. He had told me then that he didn't want his family to know he wasn't her father because they already did not approve of me and his relationship.
Yana, okay.
So at that point, we had decided that he was going to be her father figure. When she was born, I had told him that I wanted to leave the birth certificate blank in the case that Matthew were to ever return, and that was only fair. And he said that that wouldn't be viable to his family or mine. We argued back and forth about it.
How did this all play out then after 2001? That's what I want to know. Because right now, the child is 6 years old.
Exactly.
And so I want you to tell me, Mr. Smith, what happened 6 years later that brings you to court today?
Well, I was served papers for child support, and I hired myself a lawyer because I wanted
Who
to...
filed the petition for child support?
No,
did, Your Honor.
she applied for welfare.
No, I didn't, Your Honor. I work full-time. I got papers in the mail being served that I was the defendant in a case regarding him taking me to court for visitation. I have to pay child support in our county in order to have visitation with my child. He brought the action, Your Honor. He is the plaintiff on both of these.
Well, there was a motion in Hennepin County for child support.
That was an action that he brought with
He brought
a
an action
visitation.
for what? For child support? To pay child support?
In our
You
county,
brought
you
an
have
action
to.
to pay child support, sir?
No.
I never heard of that. I've been a judge for a very long time. See, Miss Bruffett, my problem is he's fighting the child support in this action.
Exactly.
He's fighting it. He doesn't want to pay it. He's saying, listen, I have no money left. You know, I have a 5-month-old baby. I live. Here's my rent. Here's my lease on my apartment. Here's what I earn.
Yep.
I can't afford to pay any more child support, so I don't get the fact that he petitioned the court for child support. Now, why do you keep looking for her, sir?
Ain't nobody looking for Chrissy.
You weren't looking for her?
No.
I have
For what
police reports
reason?
to that effect, Your Honor.
I'd like to see the police report, please. The only indication here that's interesting is he said he wanted to come over to see the child they have in common. And victim, that would be you, advised that he couldn't come over and that he's not supposed to be calling. So he said, I want to come over to see my daughter. And you said he couldn't. You didn't say it's not your daughter.
Ain't no way I called.
Shut.
Okay.
I do also have that actually in a court finding paper that when we were in court in front of a judge for this order for protection 2004, that I was very adamant through all of that she was not his child, and I just wanted him to leave me alone.
That I want to
That's
see.
all I've ever asked, is that he just leave us alone.
Sir, what I want to know is why you're here now in 2007 when in 2004 she clearly told you that you were not the father of this child.
Right.
She told you that
Exactly.
3 years ago.
Yep.
What woke you up now?
What woke me up now was, I don't know, it took
Your
me,
Honor, he
you
has
know,
been harassing me for
I
6.5
don't-
years.
yeah, but-
This is just another form. I'm sorry.
What woke me up, I don't know.
Well, why don't you say something to try to wake me up, sir? She told you at least
Well,
three
the
years ago.
reason-
Listen to me. At least 3 years ago.
Right.
At least 3 years ago, she insisted before a judge that you are not the father of the child.
Why she didn't let that be known to the child support people then?
Listen, I don't see any of those papers. I mean, you don't have those papers. What you gave me were papers where, in the matter of the child, you are the plaintiff.
Exactly.
You're the plaintiff, not the county. You're the plaintiff.
Otherwise, Your Honor, he have papers to the effect of Hennepin County.
And
versus
that's
Tyrone.
July of 2006.
Exactly.
July 2006.
Listen, if you're going to agree with me once more, I'm going to throw you out and grant this petition. Do you understand? Good. I don't get it.
Yeah, I'm kind of lost too. You got me lost
Well,
too.
I'm kind of lost too. I mean, you
But-
were told by a judge 3 years ago that she says you're not the father of the child. And now you want attorney's fees
Exactly.
and court costs and everything else for
Yeah.
an attorney that you just hired 3 years later in order to get visitation and have a blood test done, and you want the blood test done. She told you weren't the father.
Yana, I had to hire that lawyer because I didn't have an address. I didn't know how to serve her
Your
her
Honor, my
papers.
address is private from him.
She put an order of protection on me, so ain't no way I can get her address.
What did you need her address for?
So she can get served her papers.
What
for my,
papers?
For
I don't want to hear
visitation
you.
to see
Don't you
I
get
live.
it?
To see, visitation
You know,
to see
I don't
live.
think that you're worried about him because you keep interrupting him. You know, if you were cowering and worried about him, as you indicate you are in your answer, then you wouldn't be freely contradicting him. Maybe that'll get you to be quiet. How much support did you pay over the last 6 years for your daughter?
6 years, I just.
Alleged daughter.
How much did I pay? About $1,000.
Show me.
That was my daughter. Ain't no way I'm gonna keep a receipt.
Show me.
You know, I did that from the kindness of my heart. You know, ain't no way I'm gonna buy that little girl
Well-
something and say I want it back.
No, I didn't say buy her something. I said support. You weren't living together for 6 years. Support.
You got me on that one.
Now, when was the last time, Miss Bruffett, that you alleged that Mr. Smith bothered you?
The last incident was the last job that I had to leave because of him when I filed for that last order for protection
Would you give
in
me the
2004.
date, please?
It was February of 2004.
Well, that's a long time ago. It's over. Put a period. Finished.
Yes.
Not a good idea, if I believe you, which I'm sort of on the fence about. Not a good idea to insert somebody else's name on a birth certificate that is not biologically related to a child. It confuses the child. Put your hand down. Do you understand?
I do.
Unfair.
I do.
Unfair. Look what happens. She go try to get a kidney from him. And what'll happen? when she's 18. Ridiculous. Mr. Smith, you are finally free.
Yes, ma'am, I am.
Thank you.
I am. I dodged the aunt.
And Miss Bruffett would really like you to leave her alone.
Been there, done that. Long time
And
ago.
I think that you're going to leave her alone.
Oh, yeah. Been there, done that. I got a wife and a son that needs me more than anybody, you know.
Your case is dismissed. It's over. Finished. Put a period. So is yours. Finished. Over. It's dismissed. Goodbye.
Thanks, John.
Ryan Lapp claims his ex-girlfriend's friend, Mark Childress, entered his home without permission and assaulted him. Mark does not dispute the charge.
Mr. Lapp, it is your claim that the defendant assaulted you in your home.
Yes, that's true.
Mr. Childress acknowledges that he came to your home. He said you became confrontational.
Not true at all. Sorry.
Not so sure about it. In any event, what I gather from his answer is, if you got a whooping, you deserved it. That'd be a fair statement, sir.
Well, I'm
Let's
disappointed.
see. Mr. Lapp, according to what I read, you and some friends were hanging out in your house. And I don't know what you were doing and hanging around in your house, whether you were drinking or smoking or doing some drugs or whatever you were doing, but you decided to make some prank calls.
Yes.
On what evening was this, sir?
I believe it was on the evening of the 14th of July.
And you made a prank call, one of those prank calls, to the defendant's home. I assume that it's this young lady who was living in your home with you at the time.
Yes, Your Honor.
And she's a married lady?
2 days.
To this gentleman here,
Yes, Your Honor.
who was then stationed in Iraq. Is that right?
Yes, Your Honor.
Tell me your name.
Ronald McCart.
What is your rank, sir?
I'm a specialist.
When did you get back from Iraq?
December 12th, ma'am.
Okay. So you called the defendant's home and you got this young lady on the phone. And what is your name?
Allison.
Now, did you know Allison?
Yeah, I did.
What had you been drinking, smoking, or snorting that night, Mr. Lapp?
No snorting or smoking anything other than cigarettes, but we were drinking gin that night.
And who was there?
It was me, my witness Andrew, and my neighbor from across the way, and my girlfriend.
What did you say to Allison when you prank called her, sir?
I
Look
don't
at me.
There was a lot of prank phone calls being made, but I mean, I was on one of them. And what I said...
I want to know what was said when you called Allison.
I can't remember exactly, but I did say something to
You
the
don't
effect.
remember. So let's hear Allison. Allison, you remember July 14th?
Yes, I do, Your Honor.
Who called you?
Mr. Lapp called my cell phone.
How did he have your cell phone number? Do you know?
Ryan is a previous boyfriend of mine.
Who's Ryan?
Mr. Lapp.
When did you stop seeing him?
In March.
March of 06? Mm-hmm. And when did you meet your husband? Okay, so he had your cell phone number. What did he say to you, Allison, when he called?
He said that I hope that they shoot your desert rat boyfriend in the head and that they don't find his body so he can't be buried here.
Not nice.
No, definitely not. Shouldn't have ever even been said, and that was totally unright on my part.
So, Allison, what did you do when you got that message?
I was very upset. A lot of crying.
Did you tell Mr. Childress?
Yes.
Okay. So what'd you do?
I listened to the tape.
Oh, she had it on tape.
There was 16, 17 vulgar, sexually abusive, and just derogatory phone calls over a period of an hour and a half made to the house. Very explicit, very sexually demeaning.
Why, Mr. Lapp?
Like I said, I couldn't tell you why. I wasn't even on any of those phone calls except for that one phone call where I did say what I said about her now husband.
But you gave the phone to your friends.
No,
or
I
you
didn't.
called the number.
No. Other people have her number other than me. That did not come from me. They all know her.
Did you make the phone calls?
Me?
You? Yeah. What am I looking at? Who else is there?
Yeah. I made about 2 or 3 myself. But everybody did have her phone number that was there, and they were all using their separate phones.
I didn't ask about anybody else. I asked about you.
Yeah, I made 2 or 3 phone calls.
Stand up. Why?
We just had we just had something against her. I don't know what it was, but we just didn't really like her.
Who cares? I don't like you. I wouldn't call you and say nasty things on your cell phone.
That's fair. We just, we were drinking, and it just...
Because you were acting like idiots, and that's what happens to idiots when they drink.
Yeah.
When they drink, they don't know what they're doing. Right?
Yeah.
They don't know what they're saying. Right?
Yeah.
And sometimes they become confrontational.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
Now I'll hear from you.
After listening to this hour and a half of phone calls, I was so disappointed in Ryan. We'd invited him to our house. We've fed him. We've taken care of him. And it just really disappointed me. I couldn't imagine why he would sink so low. And then to talk about a gentleman who's not here, who's serving our country, that gives him the right to say the things that he did.
Yeah, sitting on his porch and drinking gin.
Exactly.
Right.
I thought this couldn't be the Ryan I knew.
So you went over there to see if somebody else creeped into his skin?
Well, my son-in-law lives in the same apartment that Ryan does. And we had an open door policy. They come to our house, we go to their house.
So you went over there?
I went over there and...
Look at me, Mr. Childress.
Wanted to see what was going on.
So what happened when you got there?
I asked Ryan, I go, do you know who I am? Because he was in bed. I saw that his girlfriend had just left.
So you went into his bedroom?
Yes, which is right next to my son-in-law's bedroom.
How did you get into the house?
The house is open.
Okay.
It's
like do you remember,
Yes.
Mr. Lapp, what happened? Because you were pretty drunk that night, according to you.
Yeah, I wasn't that drunk in the morning, though.
Oh, so this
Maybe
was
a little
the morning.
hungover. This was a little hungover. Yes, when he assaulted me, it was in the morning.
Go ahead.
I woke up, actually, my girlfriend was leaving the house. Once she had left the house,
Was she there when you were making these calls,
Yes,
these
she
crank
was.
calls?
Yes, she was. She was there for part of the night, then she left and didn't come back.
Was she
later that
making
night.
any of the crank calls?
She was on some of those prank phone calls. What had happened was she had left that morning. He came in after that, and I thought somebody was coming to my bedroom. I thought it was my girlfriend returning because she forgot something.
It wasn't.
No, it wasn't. He locked the door behind him as he came in. Said, do you know who I am? I said, yeah. He told me to stand up. I stood up. He socked me once in the mouth. I fell to the bed. He continued to hold me down and punch me. I couldn't even move. I mean, he punched me 20, 25 times in the side of my face, in my stomach, all through my neck, my jaw. I have the hospital reports of the cervical strain and the contusions to the head and neck for about 3 weeks, which caused me
Not going to
be
make
able
any more prank phone calls, are you?
No. Prank phone calls are bad. Like I said, it was a stupid mistake, but I don't believe it justifies someone putting their hands on somebody.
Okay. Now your version, sir.
I asked Ryan if he knew who I was, because I know he had been drinking the night before, and I asked him what was going on. And immediately he said, I didn't say anything, and flailed his arms up. I took a defensive posture and acted accordingly. I thought he was going to attack me, the way he had been talking on the phone.
I don't buy that, Mr. Children. I don't buy that. You went into his bedroom.
That's correct.
After that, he also proceeded to go out and try to assault him.
I
It's not
assume
like he
the
just
police-
came
I
in there
assume
just
you
to
called
beat
the
me up.
police?
Yes, I called the police right after it happened.
And I
He
assume
also
the
threatened
police,
me not to
shh,
do.
quiet.
Okay.
And I assume the police came, and I assume you played them the recordings,
Yes, Your Honor.
and they did nothing.
They failed to press charges against either one of us.
Correct. Do you work, Mr. Lapp?
Yes, I do.
Who do you work for?
Fry's Electronics in Sacramento.
How long have you worked for them?
I've worked there about 4 months now.
You have medical insurance?
No, I do not.
Have you paid any of these bills?
No, I have not. I don't have the funds to do so.
I have $2,099 in medical bills.
Yes.
Have any photographs of your injuries?
I did on a cell phone that's broken now, so there's no way to get those.
How many times did you hit him, Mr. Childress?
Probably between 10 and 12 times.
More than that. Way more.
Like, I was in the living room when this all happened because, like, you have, like, where I slept in the apartment, you have to walk past me to get to his room. And when he walked in there, he locked the door, and I heard a lot of, beating and screaming, him telling him to get off. But there was a lot more hits. You could hear Mark hitting Ryan. It was a lot more than 10 or 12.
Mr. Lapp, on a sympathy scale of 1 to 10, you maybe you're a -1. You understand that? To me. You too. Because the pain that you can cause somebody as a result of making crank phone calls to them, and prank phone calls, especially the kind that you did with regard to this young man who was very far away from home and whose life was on the line, so that you two idiots could sit on your porch and drink gin. The things that you said about him are outrageous. And while I understand Mr. Childress's anger at you, the law doesn't give him the right to go over to your home and to assault you. There's no question that the police were so outraged at the phone calls that they winked at the assault. But quite frankly, I can't. You are responsible for his medical bills. Now, then, the only thing that I have to make a judgment about is whether you are also responsible for his pain and suffering, because his medical bills are $2,000. He wants $5,000. That he's not getting. Because there is emotional injury and there is physical injury. And you suffered physical injury as a result of this assault. Did this young lady sue you for emotional injury?
She did not.
You think that one can be as dramatic as the other?
Yeah.
Well, so the swollen face, the black and blue, whatever. Suck it up. Mr. Childress is going to pay your medical bills. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $2,000. That's all.
हमारी वीडियो आपको अच्छी लगी हो तो चैनल को सब्सक्राइब एंड शेयर कीजिएगा। चलें शुरू करते हैं। बोलना नहीं सी तुम यार इतनी वड्डी होगी उतना ही सानू फायदा है
ਉਹਨੂੰ ਵੇਖੋ ਕੰਨ ਘਰ ਕੇ ਬੈਠ ਕੇ ਗੁੜ ਚਲਾਵਾਂ ਤਾਂ ਕੋ ਫਾਇਦਾ ਹੈ
जी तो गाइज़ आज की ड्राइंग में हमारा कलर कंप्लीट हो चुका है। अगर आपको हमारी ये वीडियो अच्छी लगे तो चैनल को सब्सक्राइब, लाइक एंड शेयर कीजिएगा।